Before we go into the normal order of business, I want to take just a brief moment to, some you may not be aware, but over the past weekend, this past Friday, we had some crazy hectic weather on the Gulf side down at the Cape. We had to do, I think, maybe 5 water rescues at one time, and the fire chief and his wife, who happened to be a member of the South Gulf Fire Department, Volunteer Fire Department, process of doing a rescue and got in trouble. And Nick got in serious trouble, and had to bring him here to Sacred Heart, transport him to Gulf Coast in Panama. I was over Saturday morning. Butler called me Friday night, made me aware of it, and Barnes was over, checked on him again, had him in ICU, checked on him again Sunday, still in ICU. I went over yesterday to visit. They got him out in the room, but he's got pneumonia. He took in a lot of salt water. He just got exhausted. We come that close, people, to losing Nick. A rescuer had to be rescued. So I'd ask it, let's all our thoughts and our prayers and our hearts be with Nick and Cheryl as he goes through this time of recovery. He's got some pneumonia now, and the lung went down on him. He'll be back, but it won't be tomorrow. It's going to take him a few days to recover. So please keep him, all of you keep him, Nick and Cheryl, in your prayers. All right. Joe, you acting sheriff. Meeting's been called to order. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we address the consent agenda. If anyone in the audience has any concerns or questions with our consent agenda, now's the time to speak up. All right, having none, let's drift over to our staff. Anyone in the staff, the clerk's office over here? Yes, Madam Clerk.
I do have a point of correction for the
Please.
board. In item number 3, under bid awards, the second item, bid 1516-20. About the third row down, it says low bidder on some trucks and things that we,
Oh, yeah.
should be high bidder.
I saw that. I said, how?
Just to reflect in the minutes, when we do them, that correction be made. If you'll make
All right, that's high bid, then you got the word sold bid in here, which means, yeah, I got it. All right, thank you. Any other, all right, let's drift to the board members now. Anyone on the board have any? All right, we'll catch them all. What about you, Commissioner Quinn? You have any?
No, sir.
All right, Commissioner McLemore.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull pages 47 through 54, and I'll discuss that when it comes my time to
47
speak.
through
54.
54. That's good. Bye, Commissioner McLemore. Any more, Commissioner?
What's that?
No.
Saying it's not in consent, so we should address that specifically.
I thought it was in consent.
Just a public
No.
hearing, sir.
That's all it is. It's not in there.
Anyway, okay, I'm going to discuss it when it gets my time. I just don't
You
want
wanted to just discuss
I
this,
don't,
it's not in
I don't want
consent.
it, I don't want it to pass
Okay.
right now.
Just
Right
hold
now.
up, hold up. We'll get to there. All right, is there
Okay.
any other pages?
That'd be all.
All right, that's you, Commissioner Barnes, Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull pages 24 and 25
All right,
and 37.
let's see, 24 and 25 and 37. All right. Okay, when it gets our time, we will discuss these along with Mr. McLemore is there. All right, any other? And the chair has none to pull. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda excluding these pages that's been?
So move, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, we got a motion over here by Commissioner McLemore. Second by Commissioner Barnes. Any further board discussion? All right, motion passes 5-0. All right, that takes care of the consent agenda. We don't have a long agenda today, people, only 11 items on them. One has been scratched, but Mr. Butler, let's go over and you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I gave you a copy of this, looks like this. It's to do with the the beach nourishment project that we've been working on the last 2 or 3 years. I want to go through this project, the timing of the project, the financial portion of the project, and the restore funding timing. Should be,
Go ahead, I got it.
Mr. Chairman, the plan for beach restoration project, timing of the project. The bond process should be complete November 2016. We should have permits in hand December 2016. The request for proposal bid process should be complete and contract awarded by February 2017. Construction begins May of 2017. Project should be complete by November 2017. This is the beach restoration and beach nourishment project. It's a combination project we're doing on the beach. The financial portion of that, the people out on the St. Joe Peninsula have already voted in a $4 million MSTU that they will be paying. FDEP has matching money to have $4 million to put into that pot. We have a proposal of TDC putting $1 million into the pot through bed tax monies. DOT is already, we have an agreement with DOT for $200,000. We have that in our hand. And taking the first year allocation of restore money, $2.8 million, flip-flopping year 1, year 2 on restore money to let this project go forward. And that will make a $12 million project. The timing of the project is new, and the plan would be that the board would need to agree that the MYIP would be modified for that first year, because we're making a substantial change. We had beach nourishment in the pot already in year 1, but this would be taking the $2.8 million and paying into the beach nourishment project in year 1. And then the project we had in year 1 would likely move over to year 2. The new MYIP public comment period begins June of 2016. Public comment period ends August 10th, 2016. We submit MYIP to Treasurer in August 2016. Treasury approval is expected in October 2016. Submission of the grant for treasures for projects to Treasury in November 2016, and restore dollars available January to February 2017. And this is as we are now. Like I said, we've been working on this. Mike Nabrowski, our coastal engineer, he's in the audience today. He drove over from Destin this morning. He's been working on the project the last couple of years. We've been paying for this last couple of years through money from DEP and bed tax monies. And so we almost at the point of having it designed, and by the fall we'll have it permitted. So this gives the board a better general idea of the project, how big the project is, where the project is going to be paid from, and when. And be glad, between myself and Mr. Yeager, he's been on this project, Mike Nabrowski is on the project, and Mr. Novak, our attorney. Between all of us, we should be able to answer the questions you may have on this.
Roger?
Mr. Chairman, I didn't really want to get into this early in the meeting, but he's opened it up for us, so we need to discuss it.
Roger, you have the floor.
All right. I have a big problem with this beach renourishment project down there. Number one, we did this project 7 or 8 years ago. We spent $22 million on it. We got lucky it lasted 7 years. If we'd had a big bad storm, it might have would have lasted overnight. Here we are now. We're back at it again. People on the Cape, they've raised $4 million. They voted to tax themselves. We voted to direct the staff to move forward with it. That's exactly what they've done. They went out to try to find our $4 million of this project. They've done that. But here's my problem. In order to find that $4 million, they're taking everything that we have, our BP funds, our 1 cent bed tax monies, and they're devoting it to this project down there, that's a no end in sight. It's just a money bucket all the way down the road, is what it is. Every truckload of sand they dump down there on the beach, it ends up in the channel out here on the point. I can go show you. We don't have a channel out there anymore because the sand is drifted right on down to the point. If this was a project that we could put this money into today and fix the problem, I'd be all for it. But this is an ongoing issue, and I hear this all the time. I want to clear this up while I'm at it. I hear this all the time. 40% of the tax dollars comes off from the Cape of Gulf County. That's not true. That is totally not true. A big portion of our tax dollars does come off from the Cape, but not 40%. They're talking 40% on the south end of the county. We have miles of beaches down there. That's not on the Cape. We have Salmon Bayou. That's not on the Cape. So that's incorrect there. I can go on and on with this issue, why not to do it. We're going to lose a few houses on the Cape. We're going to lose a few because of erosion, but we're not going to lose the majority of the Cape. We're not going to lose the majority of the beach. The beach is always going to be down there. They're always going to be there, so that's where I feel with this project. I don't support it. I think it's a never-ending issue. You spend $20 million over here today on the Cape. Try to open the port up down there. You got to spend $20 million down there to dredge the channel out to try to get into the port. So it's just a never-ending bucket that you're throwing money into, and that's the way I feel, Mr. Chairman, on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other board member? Comments on this? Let me make a comment or two. I've been working on this project 4 years. Directly involved with it 4 years. McLemore, you're right in one sense. The Cape collects our county tax dollars around 25% off of the Cape, 15% off the Indian Pass area, and I do the numbers on the St. Joe Beach in the area, but 40% of our operating money comes from Cape, Indian Pass. Project county's asked that let me clarify one thing. I voted along lines with this to help the people. I won't vote to give 1 penny of your tax dollars toward people down in the Cape area. They, in a designated area, voted $4 million on themselves. The DEP has said we'll match that $4 million, but that's not there forever. Timeline on it. DOT's come up, our portion, which would come out of the restore pots or the restore BP, is $2.8 million. Stand on this money. It's not going to affect any of the projects. I've heard, well, you're going to kill the sewer project in Weaver Hitchcock, you're going to kill the sewer project in Port St. Joe. That is absolutely not true. Money's there. This money will not have to be, we won't have to pay any interest on it. We can save $150,000 or so, but I mean, actual facts is on this. But, it's up to the county. All right, it's going to be in our hands here whether, as I said just prior, DEP money's not committed forever. Got a time factor on it. That's, they said they'd match the people, the good people down on the Cape, dollar for dollar, which they're good for their word, but it won't be, got a time frame on it. But anyway, I just want to let you know that.
I'll comment on that, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you're wrong.
Okay.
It will affect our other projects into the county. They're on schedule to be done this year or whatever, right in line. Now, I'm not saying it won't get done, but it will delay those projects at least by a year or so. Now, another thing that I want to remind you on this, who knows what we're going to get out of BP? We may not get anything out of BP. They may go bankrupt tomorrow. We're dealing with money that we don't have in the bank. So I can't go out on a limb like that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment.
Right over here. Thank you.
I also have concerns about this project and have expressed my concerns all along. Now, last time we were in this room, we were discussing the $4 million MSTU that the Cape residents, landowners voted to tax themselves. But we also had another $4 million bond issue that the rest of the county would carry. So I'm not hearing anything about that additional $4 million bond issue discussed today. That was something that came up that was not clear to the public or to members of this board when that second $4 million was addressed. And essentially, if that second $4 million was dependent on the $4 million that the Cape voted to tax themselves, the end result is that the people on the Cape are voting to tax the additional $4 million. They're voting to tax the whole county. So they have the say because all of our money comes from taxpayers. Government doesn't make money. It only gets money from taxpayers, be it people in this county or in the state or from the federal government. It's all taxpayer money. So that was a concern. Now we're back at the table, and there's no discussion of that second $4 million. So I think we need some clarification as to what's happening with that bond issue. But now we're talking about taking the entire first amount of the restore funds that we believe we have, but I'm with Commissioner McLemore. It's very concerning when they tell us we have something and it's the federal government. There are so many hoops to jump through. We've seen it with much of the early money that came from BP that still isn't here. We've got NERDA projects that are in the process, but there's so many regulations that the federal government places on it. We really don't have our hands on that. So that's concerning. And my other concern is I don't understand why this plan wasn't in the agenda that the public could see what we're considering doing. We're considering taking what may be all that we do get, the 2.8, which is apparently set aside for us. We believe it is set aside for us. We may not get anything additional. They tell us we will. But we're talking about taking that entire 2.8 million and putting it into this one project. And the public doesn't really know about it because it wasn't on the agenda. We were handed this today. And I think this is something that the public needs to know about very clearly. They need to understand what we're considering. The other issue with this is, again, what Commissioner McLemore raised. I want our beaches to be beautiful, perfect, pristine. But it is an ongoing issue, and it concerns me that we spent $22 million. Now it's $12 million, and it's really not the full restoration that I think they would like to do. It's certain sections. And how soon will we have to do another restoration, and where are we going to get that money? We're not going to have another BP oil spill, hopefully. So we're not looking at any kind of a long-term plan to stop this erosion. And many of the environmental people that I have spoke to, including U.S. Fish and Wildlife, want to look at that bridge. But we've had people come to this podium and tell us that they have met with our county administrator and our Restore Act coordinator with DOT and told them we don't want the bridge. And to me, that is very dangerous. We need to be looking at that bridge. there's a lot of environmental people who are experts who believe that if we had the bridge, sometimes that area would be open and sometimes it would be closed, but it would be what nature wanted to do. And these issues with the bay and the scallops, I hear consistently from people who spend a lot of time in the bay that there's excessive amounts of algae in that bay, and they believe that if that was open and could flush occasionally, that it would be helpful for the scallops and the condition of the bay, but we need to look at it. But this board never voted that we were going to tell, at least not that I recall, that we were going to tell DOT that we didn't want that bridge. So it seems to me there's all of this planning and arranging going on behind the scenes, but the public is not a part of it. And it is an important project. It is an issue. I would like to see the tax figures. I was told by people on the Cape that there were lots on the Cape that had homes on them that are gone now. The homes washed out in the past few years. They saw people on those lots with bottles of champagne celebrating that they had just bought those lots and closed on them and they were going to build a house. Now that house had already been taken out. So now they're going to build another house there. So, we just can't keep doing the same thing and spending millions of dollars to replace sand that is going to end up in the channel. So I think this is a huge issue. And this should have been clearly placed into the agenda so the rest of this county, the taxpayers of this county, can know what we're considering.
One more time, please. One comment.
Do one more. and then-
Okay, just one more. One comment. If we do this project today, everything else in the county, with the 1 cent bed tax that we collect, and the monies that we supposed to collect, all of our other projects, I'm talking the North End, I'm talking White City Boat Ramp, several projects we have on the list to do with this funding, all of those are gone. We're putting all the eggs into one basket here.
All right, thank you. Mr. Attorney? Yes, may I? You clear up some of this. As I stated, I've been working on this project for 4 years behind the scene and not in here. Would you just please give these people and the ones watching on television what we've been doing for the last 4 years and on this project?
I've been doing it for 16, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well, I commend you there. That's good. I know I've been involved with it directly 4+ years.
Yes, sir.
Here's what I'm asking. It's a business deal. Explain the money, explain how, and we're not gonna lose things. If the city of Wewall right now, I'll use them because that's where I live, it'll take them a year. They hadn't even got engineering. If they would walk up here and say, here's my sewer project, I've already bid it, we're ready to go, that's different. There'll be a year before they even get their ducks in a row. I can't speak for the city of Fort St. Joe. I haven't spoken with Mr. Anderson on it. I don't know if they're ready for sewer. I know we're gonna do some road work out here, and I'm sure they'd like to do that prior. But anyway, would you please, shed just a little light about the county's not going barely enough on this?
Yes, sir. The issue in the presentation today is a continuation of the discussion you've been having, as you indicated, for the last couple of years. 2 years ago, the county commission was approached with regards to the services taxing unit, and it was requested that go out on a resolution. And the commission that sat up there at that time approved that referendum that went out to those 3 taxing districts, and it failed. It came back before the commission 6 months later requesting that you all give another opportunity for the supervisor to do it again. In the context of that discussion, each time it was the presentation and the proposal of the staff, along with Mr. Dombrowski, the TDC, Mr. Yeager, who was the commissioner at the time, that the restoration projects were moving forward. You're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars through your TDC on permitting over the last few years to perfect that permit process. You're also doing beach monitoring. You have obligations from your last restoration project. So you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on that project, on preservation and perfecting that permit going forward. After the MSTU voted the second time, it was back in April of last year, Commissioner Yeager had made the request that you all move forward with the MSTU and allow it to go out. it was questioned of him during those meetings as to where the third component, there's three pieces to the puzzle. There's the state money, there's the MSTU money, and then there's the county money, the commission's contribution, a third, and a third. The question to the commission, posed to Commissioner Yeager at the time, was where would the third component come from? And there was discussion that started last April before you started going down this MSTU road again. September of this year, on September 22nd, there was a motion of this commission to move forward with a resolution in 2015. The resolution came back before you all on October 27th of last year. And the resolution was to permit the county to spend the taxpayer money to move forward to advertise for 4 weeks the issue in a public hearing of whether or not to put a referendum out again, because you had to do it before the end of 2015. So this continuum of this discussion over the last few years, each meeting you're having these discussions and the dialogue, the public hearing was advertised for 4 weeks after your October 27th meeting. On December 8th, you all met. I think it was about a 6-hour meeting, if you all recall. And about 2 hours and 53 minutes into the meeting, a 36-minute discussion ensued. And the discussion was, where were the other funds the county is going to contribute if you move forward with this MSTU vote? For 35 minutes, the commission and the public discussed, the staff presented you all with various funding sources. The requirement and the request of the commission during that dialogue was that they be non-ad valorem non-ad valorem funds. It's not county taxpayer money that the commission would come up with for that $4 million, which was the discussion that started last April. After the 35 minutes, the commission, having heard all the staff comments from Mr. Butler, Mr. Hammond, myself, moved forward with the motion to authorize Mr. Hanlon to start the MSTU vote, which would be held in April. So the county moved forward, they conducted that vote, and during that time, we've continued to move forward with Mr. Dombrowski to perfect those permits, spending taxpayers' TDC money on it. The vote passed, and since that time now, the commission has come back to the staff and Mr. Yeager and asked where is that funds continue to come from. That discussion started a year plus ago. The task to the commission, the staff has been non-ad valorem funding sources. The 2.8 is money that sits in the Treasury right now. So we talk about BP money. The presentation from the staff and Mr. Yeager and with regards to Restore is the 2.8 that's there is Transocean Halliburton money. That's already in Treasury. It's a federal act that we need to submit an MYIP for economic and environmental restoration of Gulf County. We need to submit these proposed plans to Treasury and have them vetted and approved. You've all gone through that process for 3 years now. One of the projects in there that scored the highest was the restoration amongst other projects. So that 2.8 is not contingent funds. It's sitting in Treasury waiting for the county to request it for an appropriate project. The other non-ad valorem funding sources were your TDC, which is a tourist tax on bed tax. You have in the presentation in front of you in that form there that a proposed funding of the remaining balance of that bond would be $1 million. In addition to that, the county staff has gone out and has an agreement in hand for another $200 from the DOT. One of the proposals with regards to amending the MYIP and the $2.8 million is if you bond $4 million as a county over the next 10 years, you're going to be paying fees and interest as though you borrow money from anybody. One of the proposals in the cost savings, and you had mentioned the business proposal, is if the county pays down that bond immediately in the first year, you're eliminating 9 years of interest. So presumably you're saving the interest and the taxpayers' money of financing $4 million over 10 years. The presentation on the bond that you've heard from the attorney and Mr. Ceylon is that there's no prepayment penalty. These are stacker bonds. So if you pay them down in your first year, you eliminate the debt for the county that doesn't pay interest for the next 9 years. If you apply your Restore funds, then you're knocking 75% of your bonded money out in the first year. So versus the other projects that have been introduced to you in MYIP, and they've been presented by Mr. Yeager, you have to rank your programs. They have to be permit ready to go forward. There is contingent money that BP will be paying over the next 15 years, a little over $1 million a year. Your other projects, if they're ready to go and they can be funded through the county, through the Restore, you can pay for them with that. I believe the proposal that's in front of you all with regards to the beach restoration is that is a financing project, which requires the county to service debt for the next 10 years. And in terms of the business proposal, is if the county can pay for that without paying the interest, and then go pay other smaller projects in your MYIP that don't require financing and borrowing of those funds, ultimately you're saving taxpayers interest and that financing costs over the next 9 years if you're paying it down on the front end. Today, we're sitting here, it's a continuation. Mr. Butler brought it up, but we've already started the judicial bond validation with the 14th Circuit. We filed the complaint against the state. We have an order to show cause hearing in the last week of July. We'll ideally have an order from the judge after the state attorney responds to the complaint by the end of August. You have the timeline there in front of you, the permits in hand by this fall. But again, I just want to reiterate, you've moved down this process over the last few years. You've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Every vote that you've made up to this point has been moving this ball forward. I know the question today is about where are the funding sources coming from. Before you all voted on December 8th on MSTU vote to go forward to give the districts the ability to tax themselves, there was a more than a half-hour discussion of where those funds were going to come from the county commission that were non-ad valorem based. And those were all offered to you. So this is not something that's being introduced for the first time. This is actually a discussion that's been going on for more than a year. I know Brian and Stella are here from Dewberry, your Restore consultants. But this MYIP process is a multi-year process. And the county commission ultimately has the determination of how you're going to allocate those funds. Right now, you have close to $3 million that is not contingent. It is in Treasury and is waiting for the county to submit a plan on how they're going to apply it for economic and environmental development in Gulf County. And that's where we are today. Ideally, I'll come back in July after the order to show cause hearing and let you know that the court has moved forward on it. But again, it's a continuum of what we've been talking about over the last several years, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. And would you repeat those words one more time? Non-ad valorem tax for the people and the ones watching on, you will not be taxed?
The three components to the
Your
county's
taxes
contribution
won't
is
go-
not
none of
ad
your
valorem
tax
taxes.
dollars, not
Non-ad
a
valorem
penny.
tax dollars. That's correct, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, never once, Mr. Attorney, was it discussed, excuse me, that we would have to be sitting here today putting our other projects in the county on hold or not do those other projects because of this project. Never once. Nobody on this board said that. There's where we at today. Bottom line, this is where we're at today. If we do this project, the other projects in the county are either gone or they delayed. One or two. Tell me otherwise.
Commissioner, I don't know if they're gone. It's up to the five of you of what you want to allocate your close to $19 million over the next 15 years. In terms of being gone, that's up to you all as to how you decide and allocate your funds. In terms of timing, you have, I just want to go back. The project in front of you right now is time sensitive and is contingent on various conditional approvals. The state has approved $4 million for this county. The DOT has approved $200,000 for this county. The three taxing districts have approved $4 million for you five commissioners. Those are all time sensitive and contingent on you all finding $4 million. The other projects that you all are speaking of, that is up to the commission. If it is projects in the various cities or throughout the county, there are, one of the purposes of the Restore funds and the emphasis of the administration, Mr. Yeager, and really Restore Act is to get a return on your investment, to parlay that money. So if the county gets 19 million, in essence, you're getting 60 or more $1 million of improvements to Gulf County over the next 2 decades. So the $3 million that you're putting into this project, the return on investment is $12 million. That was the purpose of the Restore Act. That's the legislative intent. And so these are time-sensitive issues. The idea of spending $4 million of the project is to, in return, receive $8 million of other funding. It's matching dollars. And that's what the county commission does all the time, finds matching dollars for what you spend.
It's a money bucket. It's what it is.
Yep.
It's a money bucket.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we do this today, this project today, it may be gone tomorrow. Nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm not commenting on the project. I'm just speaking to the business allocation of
We
your
have
funds.
projects laying out there right now that's a safety issue to people.
Yes, sir.
Chairman.
Y'all recognize the board members. Come over here.
Mr. Chairman, I would like for you to clarify Regarding the 4 million non-ad valorem bond issue that we discussed, is that still on the table and we're going to take these funds? Mr. Chairman,
Sure, go
You.
ahead, you have.
are we going to take these funds to pay that bond, or is that bond issue off the table? Mr. Chairman, I was asking you.
Oh. I thought you were addressing
I mean, you
it,
said you've been involved in this project. You're the chairman of the board, and you clearly are in favor of this project. So my assumption is, as the chairman, that you're fully versed in what's going on. So I don't really have a legal issue to ask the attorney. So I'm asking you, is this $4 million non-ad valorem tax bond still on the table? Are we using these funds to pay that off? Or is, now that we've gone in this different direction, where what appears to be a different direction, is that $4 million bond issue off the table? And I'm asking you, Mr.
Well,
Chairman.
let me turn over here, and I'm not avoiding the question at all. I don't want to think, I like to know there. I would say it's not there, but let me go right here. Mr. Hammond, you're the one been, more or less, I've been depending on this.
Just to make it very simple, if the board wants to move forward with this project, just like it's been made clear for the last 2 years, the board's got to come up with its $4 million match. All right, this is the best way to let somebody other than the taxpayers. Let me finish,
Mr.
please.
Chairman,
Can I finish?
this is my floor, this is my time, I have the floor. I asked you a question, you directed it to Mr. Hammond. He is not answering the question. He is lobbying for this project. And I am not going to sit here and listen to the staff lobby for this project. The question was, is the $4 million, this is an important issue to the taxpayers in this county, whether it's ad valorem tax or non-ad valorem tax. Those dollars still come out of these people's pockets. And I want to know, is this extra $4 million bond issue still on the table? Are we taking these funds, the restore funds, the other funds, and paying towards that bond? Or are we not going forward with that $4 million bond, which is what you call our responsibility of R4? That's all I'm asking. You don't need to lobby for the project.
Well, I don't think Mr. Hammond.
I
really
couldn't
lost
care
in
less.
this process.
The determination will be the
No,
board's.
you just hold it.
If you pay the 2.8 million, you'll only bond 1.2 or 1.8 or whatever you pay down immediately, you won't have to bond. But you either got to bond 4 million, come up with 4 million in some way. Now, the 2.8 million doesn't cost the taxpayers a penny because it's not taxpayer money. It is BP, Transocean settlement money.
But
That is the best way not to pay interest. And if you pay the 2.8, I don't care, but if you do, then you won't need 4 million, you'll need 1.2.
But the money belongs to the whole county, and it needs to be used appropriately for the whole county. And if this project is what's best for the whole county, then it is. But that's what we're discussing. And, you know, my other question, and this comes back to the very basics, and I will ask you, Mr. Chairman, that's what the rules say. I'm supposed to be directing these things to you. Why wasn't this in the agenda? Why didn't the public get to know that we were considering using these restore funds today? They didn't know we were, it was not clear, and it's never been clear. And I went back and watched the December 8th meeting. It's never been clear that we were looking at taking out a $4 million bond. That was not clear. And it certainly wasn't clear to the people in the public who are getting out of bed every morning and going to work and coming home and trying to feed their kids and get them bathed into bed. They don't have time to read between the lines and comb through all this stuff. We should be very clear when we're spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money or of BP money that's coming in to benefit this county, that we're doing it in the best way possible. We should be very clear, and if people don't care, that's their business. But if they do care, they should be able to get that information easily. So it's never been clear. But I want to know, why wasn't this in the agenda? Because this has been in discussion since the last meeting.
Yeah, Mr.
I don't
Chairman.
make up the agenda, that's what our staff do, not passing, but let me answer some of your questions here. Only 4 million when we went out. We come at the figure of 12. We knew we may not be able to operate with 8, probably need 20. But where the number 12 came up with was the fact that the MSTU voted their 4 million, and the state said we will, DEP said we will match you dollar for dollar, and we were shooting, the number we came up with was 12. Now, we said from the beginning, we're not gonna use tax dollars. Now, everything's tax dollars. Mr. Whitfield here, will be up in a little bit, on an ambulance. You're gonna put in 25%, and we're gonna get 75%. That's what this is here. We're not going out and buy it. I'm not trying to sidetrack. It's a case where you take money, you go out and solicit money. I've been working with the city of Weaver Hitchcock. They're gonna get some money for a sewer project. They're not ready to go. They won't be ready to go for a year. But they're gonna go out and try to get some matching funds to go along with this to stretch their project a little further. But the 4 million, as it states right here, you know, the TDC was $1 million, Bob. We need to come up with 2.8 million, and our 2.8 million was to come out of the, they'll be up here in just a few minutes, Brian, Stella, and, Yeager. And we can go into this, but we're not going into $4 million of your taxpayer money. We're not doing this. This is, money that's set aside, and, words came up a while ago, economic, environment, Mr. Knight back here. Mr. Knight, let me ask you a question on this. Where is the most building going on right now in Gulf County?
Within a mile of the coast, sir.
Within a mile of the coast. Concentrated on what coast?
All the coast, sir.
All the coastline, St. Joe Beach, all the way to Indian Pass. That's where our primary building. And I'm going out on a limb a little bit here. A home that's built on the Cape, that same square footage home, same design, which will go on the tax roll as $1 million, may not go on that in other parts of the county. Would I halfway be correct there when you appraise the house? I mean, due to the location and all, that's high dollar.
Probably answer that for you. I honestly,
Do what now?
I really don't know about the tax appraisal, but they definitely, are building within a mile of the coast.
Okay, all right, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Come over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, make one comment to your remark. When you say the Cape, on this project here, the erosion is affecting a portion of the Cape. You're putting into the picture the whole Cape here, Mr. Chairman. That's not the case. We have a portion here that's affecting our building. We have miles of beaches, St. Joe Beach, Indian Pass Beach, or whatever. We're talking about a portion of our beach area here, not the whole Cape. And I have one other question. I'm gonna go to you, Mr. Attorney. Do you need a vote on this? Do we need a vote on this today?
Ultimately, you're going to all approve how the restore funds are allocated. So in terms of MYIP, this commission decides on how those funds are allocated. So between the administration and the restore coordinator, they're going to come up forward. They're going to ask you to how to allocate your restore funds. And if it's a departure from what you've approved, then there'll be a window, I believe a 60-day window of public comment period, and then you'll move forward in that direction. So there will require a vote.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to call for the vote here. I've heard enough of this. Let's move forward.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I just wanted to add one thing, Commissioner. Ms. Bryant asked the question, did the county move forward with regards to the bonding authorization? Is the county's intent still to bond $4 million in terms of their contribution? And I just wanted to answer a question. The answer is yes. The county, at the last meeting, passed 2 resolutions. One was for the $4 million of the MSTU and where the funding sources would come from. The second was the $4 million. The county now has a timeline to get their contribution orchestrated and worked out and approved by you all so that the underwriter will come forward and say that is a valid, sufficient funding source to service that debt. If the county, and I believe what's coming forward from the administration and the restored coordinator, is if there's an ability for the county to find an alternative path that they don't need to do $4 million and can alleviate the taxpayers of that interest over the next 10 years, what the proposal is to use $2.8 million towards that $4 million so that the bond is not as high. And so the answer to your question is yes. The resolutions of this majority of this board at the last meeting was for the staff to move forward, and the staff has done that. The staff now needs to not only give you answers that you approve, they need to give your underwriter how the county's going to service this debt. And the underwriter then needs to vet it out and come back and say, yes, they approve it. The state has put theirs up. The taxpayers on the MST has put theirs up. The DOT has put theirs up. Now the county commission has to put forward what their plan is, be it 4 million, be it 1.2 million, however you're going to go forward. This is the plan that was requested after those resolutions, and the commission ultimately need to ratify how you're going to service that $4 million that you're going to be contributing towards this restoration project, unless there's a vote to deviate from that. And the staff, along with Mr. Yeager, has moved in that direction, along with Mr. Dombrowski, along with everyone else working on it.
Mr. Chairman, I just want one clarification with Mr. Novak. Okay, Mr. Novak, so are you saying that if we went with what is written here on this paper, this financial plan, that the 2.8 million from Restore and the 200,000 from FDOT, if we applied that, would we only be bonding the 1 million from the TDC penny? Or would we be bonding the 4 and then using this money to pay that bond?
Mr. Chairman, speaking with our bond people, at this point in time, this is June 2016. Things can still change. Restore monies can get here early, can get here late. The plan is we're going to bond these two bonds, one MSTU bond, the other $4 million bond that we got to come up with some shape, form, or fashion to repay it. We could, if we get the money in a timely manner, we won't bond the $4 million. We don't have to bond that much. But if we have to bond $4 million, we got approval from you to go forward that process to bond, and then we get the money from Restore. We'll pay it off early. There's no penalty paying it off early. But it's everything just like it was last board meeting. We're moving forward as the board gave us direction to do. We're going to bond the projects, and hopefully, if we're lucky, we'll get to pay it off early. We don't even have to bond that much if we're really lucky. But the answer would be, are we going to bond? We are.
Thanks, sir. All right, anybody want to, you said you
Vote, Mr. Chairman.
put,
There's no,
there's no motion on the floor.
Vote on it.
not
Vote
today.
on this, Mr. Attorney.
Okay.
You vote on motions, there's no motion on the floor to
Okay.
vote anything.
Okay, I'll put one on the floor.
The staff and Mr. Yeager need direction on how they're going to continue to move forward
Exactly.
in your funding sources. The state is taking care of MSTU right for now, but we need to go back not only to your Mr. Dombrowski, Mr. Yeager, your underwriter, the state in terms of the DEP. All those people are waiting for the county to give them the answer on how we're going to fund it. So we need direction on how we're going to continue to move forward on the funding sources.
Just a minute, just a minute, let me get through here. All right, what's the direction of the board?
Make a motion that we follow this plan, this proposed plan for the beach renourishment project.
All right, heard the motion to follow the plan made by Commissioner Barnes. Do I hear a second to his motion?
I'll second it with quick discussion.
All right, sir. Second by Commissioner Quinn for discussion. Commissioner Quinn?
I just want to add that Commissioner McLemore has made some great points. Commissioner Bryan has also made some great points. I was for, I've always been for the project, trying to help the people on the Cape. And the last few days I've been thinking about this project, and it's been on my mind. And I spoke with a few people, and I also have been down there to the Cape, and I think Commissioner McLemore had a great plan when he also said let Mother Nature take its course, because I truly believe we need a bridge also. But as I ride down there on C30, that seems like to me that water's getting closer and closer to that road, and so I think the correct way, like Ms. Bryan said, was we need a bridge. We eventually gonna need a bridge, because we gonna put the 12 million. Let's say we do put the 12 million in. Eventually, it's gonna go away. That saying it's gonna go away. And I asked the question about what can they put out there in the water, and they said they could put some stuff out there to divert the current. My thought was, you cannot stop Mother Nature. Mother Nature gonna do what Mother Nature wants to do, and so whatever you put out there in that water is gonna eventually, it's not gonna stop the erosion process. So the answer would be, to me, somehow we got to figure out how to get some money for for a bridge. But I've been torn to and fro. I was thinking about it, I was for it, and then I started leaning, I don't know, I might not be for it, you know, 'cause there's a lot of questions out there, and so I'm gonna stick with my motion, my second, and that we move forward with the
All right, your
with
second
the program.
stands.
Yes, sir.
All right, any further board discussion here before I go to the public? All right, anyone in the public before I call for the vote? Got young lady over here, couple over here, let this.
Sharon Winchester,
Yeah,
Beacon Hill.
yeah, I see it. Good morning, Miss Winchester,
Good
how are
morning.
you?
Good morning. When Attorney Novak was speaking, he said a lot about previous boards voting. And what bothers me is that several of you were not on those boards when they voted. And Bill Williams was on there, I believe, and Mr. Yeager. I'm uncomfortable knowing that both Bill Williams and Mr. Yeager are now involved in all these monies that are being distributed. Mr. Yeager was on the Cape. He lives on the Cape. He represented the Cape. I see a conflict of interest, and I don't know if I'm the only one that sees this or not. That's what makes me uncomfortable. Most of what Mr. Attorney Novak said is over my head, but I do know that two of the people that were on the commission and voted possibly for this are now involved in the monies that are coming to this county. And that's what I had to say about it. I know you all have a tough job.
Thanks so much. I think I saw a couple of, yeah, young man, come on, sir.
I see a big problem.
Wait a minute, whoa. For the record, give your name and address.
My name's Richard Robinson. I live in Port St. Joe, Florida, 3216th Street, and I see a pretty big problem in it. Back when Opal came through, I had to pay out of my pocket to fix my house and to clean up my yard. So did other people in the county. When something happens in Weewall, get a tornado, they have to pay out of their pocket. I would gladly pay half of the cost for you or anybody to fix my house. I would vote an extra 2 pennies. And then the rest of my house is free. So what you're doing is taking money from Weewall and all the other districts to fix one district. 30, 40 years ago, you put your house out there at your own risk. Not my risk, your own risk. Now you're telling me, because they bought that property, that I should have to pay if something happens. Why? Why should I have to pay for somebody else? I work for my money. I didn't ask them to build out there. They done it on their own. Now, like he said, we're going to need a new ambulance, and I agree. We do need new ambulances. Because I've worked in law enforcement, I've worked at the hospital, and I've seen them. They break down all the time because they're constantly going. Now, that's an issue we should take up because it serves all 5 districts, or 4 districts. How many we got? But for the houses, don't you got insurance? My insurance, I had a deductible. That's the reason I had to pay. Now, if something happens to my house, is the city or county going to come in and pay for it? Half of it at least. I think we know that answer, and it's no. Now, I'm all for the people out there, if they want to vote themselves more tax and pay for their own area, that's fine. But when you take a penny out of my pocket that serves my little area over here, and say, well, we can't help your people over here, we're going to help these over here. Well, that's fine. They had millions of dollars, like you said, to buy this property. I work for $8 an hour right now, and I'm retired. I can't pay for their property out there, and I don't think I should have to. The bridge, now that sounds like a good idea. And the reason is, because that's always going to wash out. For 20-some years, we've been paying to fix this, and it still hasn't fixed it, and it's not going to. If you had a car that's 30 years old and it kept breaking down, you'd get rid of it and get a new one. But would the county come in and help you pay? Nope. It's the same thing. You're asking other people that have nothing to do with that out there to help pay. Now, he said it's not gonna come out of the ad valorem tax, but it's still gonna come out of the taxes of the people. That bond that you're talking about, somebody's gonna have to pay the interest on it. It's not gonna be all the people out at the Cape, it's gonna be the rest of the people around here. The stores aren't out at the Cape, the stores are in town. So who's paying the majority of that? The people are.
Have any more? Is that-
No, it's at the time limit.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel.
Thank you, sir.
You vote this into effect, and I got to pay.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Roberts. Thank you, yes, right over here, young lady.
Morning. As you guys know, Christy McElroy, Woodward Avenue, Port St. Joe. I'm a girl that tries to center herself in the facts. And Commissioner McLemore and Commissioner Bryan are exactly correct. We had a process, and the process should be honored. And the process was around restore and how those monies should be spent. And you had a committee, and you had years of people volunteering their time to sit in those meetings and give recommendations. That was y'all's decision and y'all's vote. And we spent those years taking time, and other people spent an enormous amount of time filling out applications for a process that y'all designed. And the committee got together with the coordinator, whose charge is to work with the public, the committee, Dewberry, the Board of County Commissioners, and staff. That's his charge, and that's what he's being paid for. And he did that. And that not once during those committee meetings, and I'm going to give you the documents that Dewberry, the Cape, and the newspaper all put together, not once was it ever said that 100% of the first year, or the second year, or the third year, all the way through year 10, would go to replenishment and renourishment of the beach. And those are the proper terms. If you Google it and what is being done, it isn't restoration. It's renourishment and replenishment of a beach. To Commissioner McLemore's point, $22 million was the price tag 8 years ago. The Cape's document, the CCA's document, says 13.5, but we don't know that. If you look at Google Earth before and after replenishment, yes, you can see that the coastline changed and got wider. But 3 years later, it retreated again. Guys, have vision. If $1.8 million is collected through bed tax, and there's 1,600 properties out on the Cape, but only 255 full-time voters that live on the Cape, that tells me one thing.
Motion to extend.
Motion over here.
Second.
Second. Go ahead, 3 minutes, Ms. Roberts, please.
That tells me one thing, that the majority of that property is rental property or part-time people. So if the Cape is so important to TDC and to bed tax, then 25% of what they collect yearly should be going to restoration, renourishment, replenishment. Panama City, TDC, puts about 25% of their dollars towards renourishment. So you want to know where the money should come from? It should come from the bed tax that is collected out there. It should not come from a restore fund that, to Commissioner Bryan's point, that happened to all of us. And there are other projects that are important infrastructure projects that maybe you don't see it, but it's going on under the ground, and those are sewer projects. And if we're going to grow this county, we better pay attention to our infrastructure, whether it be roads or what's going on under the ground. So 255 voters out on the Cape, whereas you take Port St. Joe, that also pays in about 20% of taxes. And we also collect bed taxes, but that goes straight into the TDC. And there are 2,669 voters. So my thing is, honor your process that you voted on, you put in place, and you paid people for. And we need to think about what is considered third-party consultant and who has a vested interest. That's important. So now I'm going to hand you out the documents that Dewberry put together that shows the process, that the newspaper reported on, that shows how this all rolled out, and that the CCA put together that has all the numbers. And I was kind enough to put together an executive summary, because I know that this is a lot of data. But before you vote, I would ask that you look at these documents and you have consideration for a process that you voted on and put forward and what people recommended you do with our money, not 255 people that are voters out at the Cape.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Pat Hardman, President of Coastal Community Association. After 4 years, it gets a little tough to come back over and over again. Mr. Quinn, there's no money been taken off the table for the bridge. My conversation with the DOT chairman, secretary, was the bridge is already engineered, because if it breaks through, they have to have something there. They'll have a temporary for a while, and then it will move to a bridge. That money never came off the table. That process never came off the table. The conversation was to put $2 million additional dollars into his budget to help look at the sand and the rocks to store it up. Infrastructure. You talk about infrastructure. That sand out there is infrastructure. That sand is the economic driver for the county. That beach isn't there, you lose 50% of your TDC funds, not 25%. The beach isn't there, you lose homes, you lose a chunk of money coming into this county. 25% of all tax dollars comes from the rocks out. 49.8% comes from the District 5 area. Now, this is economics. We don't have tourists. Downtown doesn't have business. Period. And we don't have other jobs in this county other than tourist-related jobs, unfortunately. We do have some, but not significant. Hope we're working on that. But bottom line is, if we don't protect the infrastructure, it goes away, and it is eroding, and it will continue to erode. If you don't repave the roads in this town, guess what? Something happens. We will be constantly addressing Mother Nature. We do it every day. We're sitting here in an air-conditioned room. We're beating Mother Nature. You drove here. We're beating Mother Nature. You build a bridge. We're beating Mother Nature. Will they probably win in the end? Probably so, but not during our generation if we do something to compete at Cape. We are also working in terms of how to have some structures out there that will prevent or at least slow down the erosion. For 4 years, we've been in here talking about this. There's no surprises. And this lady back here said y'all didn't vote on this. In December, you were the board. This is no change. In December, you were the board people sitting here. And if somebody leaves office and go gets another job, I'm hope they get another job. Hope they aren't unemployed if they leave office. But right now, we have to have a commitment to move forward. All of these are time sensitive. They have been time sensitive. If we don't put that in place, we lose the DEP matching money. We lose the DOT money. We lose other potential monies. So we need to make sure that we're moving forward, get as much as we can get, and find other resources as well. And one of the major things that you can do as a board is to address the COPRA issue. Move the litigation, get us back into the federal funding. That's where all this problem began with. If we had the COPRA removed, FEMA would be replacing the sand. This has only occurred as a result of not having their come in and post the sand afterwards. Vote yes, and let's move forward, and let's quit having the two people that don't want to save the county, save the Cape and save the Bay, keep bringing up the same issue over and over again to not have this happen. Please vote yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Over here.
Mr. Chairman, John Grantland, 103 Periwinkle Drive. First off, I just want to thank Commissioner Bryant and Commissioner McLemore. I understand I've heard a lot here today, and I appreciate your efforts on what you've said and what you're doing. And Commissioner McLemore, you're absolutely correct. Has there been any guarantees the sand is going to stay from any of our engineers or coastal people or anything like that? I doubt it, because it's happened before. What you end up with here is, from what I've heard, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, the county was still going to have to bond $4 million, right? Just so happened, from a creative finance standpoint, you had 2.8. So that leaves me and everybody else on the hook for either 1.2 or 1, or maybe 4. And, I just can't personally spend my tax dollars, in an area like that there's a reason FEMA's not involved. Point blank. We all know that. So yet we continue to keep being involved. And, I just don't understand that. So I appreciate, Commissioner Bryant and Commissioner McLemore. And, I hope the board seriously thinks about this. No matter what money you spend and where, if it's $2.8 million, you're spending it now, and I've heard, you'll have it next year, you're still going to be out $2.8 million at the end of the game. Despite what you may have from other agencies, this county is still out $2.8 million. So, thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, I'll accept one more. One. All right, we're closing to the public. I'll read the motion back made by Commissioner Barnes.
I believe from my memory that the motion was to accept the plan as presented by the staff.
I've got it right here. All right. Members, and your second stands there. All right, at this time,
May I address a couple things that were said at the podium?
well, we had an opportunity to do that, but then they'll have a right to come back and rebut what you say, so we can go here. I think the vote's been called for. Let's vote. All right. All in favor of the motion? We'll go down the line. Commissioner Bryant, how do you vote?
I vote.
You vote against, for or against the motion?
Against.
Commissioner Bryan votes against the motion. Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes votes for. Commissioner McLemore?
No.
Votes against. Commissioner Quinn
Yes.
votes yes. Chair votes yes. Passed. Now, Mr. Butler, I think you still have the floor. We're still in county staff business. What's the next issue?
Mr. Chairman, next issue is along that same line. Number 5 on your list on today's agenda. Mr. Yeager, if we could ask Mr. Yeager to come up and talk about the 5-year plan,
All right,
just
you
to
want to
make,
address that now?
if we could go ahead, because that's part of what we just did.
Can I comment on this? Why are we gonna come up with a 5-year plan, Mr. Yeager? We've changed this plan today.
It's called a multi-year implementation plan, and actually it addresses your first year. And Treasury will change that process probably. I actually meet with them next week, with the operator of this particular, restore process. So it's an ever-changing process, but they call it a multi-year implementation plan that you have already went through the 45-day public comment period. We've got some public comment, and I'll bring Dewberry up with John and Stella, and they can
You
talk.
want to bring them up?
Yeah, they can talk a little bit about the process if you have any more questions. But what we will need now is to proceed with the final MYP as you have approved and as we have had public comment. There may be some word changes and all that, but the bulk of the process stays as you've just approved the process of going forward with the first year going to the restoration project. So I will, with that, turn it over to Brian or Stella, whoever wants to describe the
one of you?
process going forward from here.
Good morning again, Brian.
Good morning, sir.
Good you could come over and be with us this
Commission,
morning.
thank you. I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to pick up exactly where your coordinator, Mr. Yeager, left me to come up to the podium. He's correct. Your multi-year implementation plan, and I just want to be honest. I've always been honest with the board. Be honest about the process is one that continues to evolve with an organization that is creating the grant program while it's rolling. Okay, so you've had a lot of opportunity to see even yourselves and the adjoining counties and at the state level change that's implemented by the next memo from Treasury. Okay, so but I'm going to step in and close a couple of things that are left open as confusion, I hope. The multi-year implementation plan is a multi-year implementation plan. What Treasury does is it does not allow you, obviously, to obligate any more than what you have in your bank account, like you'd run your home, right? And so as a consequence to that, the ability to narrow the focus down at any given point in time to what would turn into a project planning grant. Not a project planning grant, a project execution grant cannot be beyond what is approved in the multi-year implementation plan. And by the way, your multi-year implementation plan has multiple projects in it, the ones referenced and many more. But again, you can draw down what is available in your account. And so consequent to that, what has to happen here is your multi-project, multi-year implementation plan that went out for public review stands, but your allocation forward of the one that you are going to front fund changes. And that's enough of a change, correct, Stella, to warrant a 45-day re-review. The plan does not change. The allocation of time changes, okay? And this is a very important point because there are lots of things stated in the prior discussion that are frankly in error. And as your consultant, I would really not be doing you any good to let that go on as you thought about the informed discussion that you'll take year after year. You all are a bit of a pioneer, to be honest with you, because you're at a point in the process that's frankly advanced, even what you've heard from other counties. It's advancing quickly over what is happening in this experiment by other counties. But it's a good experiment because this is what you're going to face. You have an amount of money. There was reference, it's coming to you in 15 years. You're taking a 5-year snapshot, which is, in my opinion, wise. But at the same time, you have all of these projects attacking this money simultaneously, like they can have it simultaneously. And they cannot. It will break you down. You can't have a project schema work like that. So today, when you look at the list of priorities, you advanced one. Guess what's going to happen next year? It's probably going to be one or two. It's going to equal the account balance that you have open. See what I'm getting at? Because you're going to learn a couple things in the process, or already learned. One is if you really want to achieve that intent that your attorney spoke to, which is correct, the intent of magnifying your money, which in this particular case is magnified 3 to 1, then you are ultimately going to have a lot of work in those other projects to get there. And once they are there, they're going, and I can't tell you which ones they are, but they're going to look more attractive to you. Because one of those projects is going to come forward and announce that DEP has submitted X amount in grant to your wastewater project. I'll just choose one in the abstract. And another institution, possibly USDA, will amend that and offer this amount of money to that. And therefore, the only thing that you are left with is the amount that you would call down on the restore funds to make up the balance. Hence, you're leveraging, right? You will never, ever know that until you get as far as this Cape project got in terms of putting together the real committed resources. And so my point in this business model is you are making a statement about what is most important to you, that collection of projects. And the toughest part is to line them up for when you're going to execute them. Two decisions have to be made. And you've been somewhat, by your actions, forced to take this first one on in the fashion that you did this morning. But you're going to repeat this cycle. And it's going to, unfortunately, seem to leave some behind. Because everybody is in that approved set, but not ready. See what I'm getting at? So it's just you're actually looking at a crystal ball forward of what you're going to see year after year. Because you have to make that decision about what you're going to draw down. And some are going to be ready and some are not. A couple of other points I want to make is, and I appreciate very much, and I won't get into the individuality of any project because you all need to have respected your position on any one of them. But in the process, you question whether Treasury's, and I'll use Treasury in place of BP. BP is out of this picture, by the way. The Department of Justice settled, and Commissioner Braun, you know this. The Department of Justice has settled with BP, settled in the final settlement. And BP could not crab out of this under any circumstances. The U.S. federal government would seize all of the assets, of which would eclipse the value that you're talking about many times. So the mere supposition now for anyone to say that the money might not be there next year is just errant. The only process in that regard that makes it more difficult is the processor in the middle. And that's as I said before, this is no lie, we are all living the process evolving from Treasury. But the value of your money is set aside to the penny as to how much your valuation is to be obligated year after year, okay? So it is simply a business model. I think we've made it more, I think the process has made it more complicated certainly than it should be, but it's really not that hard. The hardest decisions are the ones the 5 of you make. Do you get behind the priorities of X number of projects? And then secondarily to that, what are you prepared to move forward when the amount is available to you in the cash account? It's really all that it amounts to. The process beneath that is, as I said before, is in your prior 45-day review, they all had their value. And that value, by the way, didn't change. None of this changes the value of your prior 45-day period. The only thing that changed is which one or ones you're advancing. And by the way, the only thing that's materially important about that, because if if everybody starts to, and I know comfort is not easy in this regard, when everybody starts to become more comfortable with that, the more behind the scenes is going to be done to put the rest of the packages together associated with those other projects. Okay? The projects are solid. The only the only way those projects could not be solid is if you change your mind. Okay? All of the power lies with you. And unfortunately, like I said, you cannot make every one of them equal in timing. You just can't, because you don't get the money simultaneously to be able to do that. So that's the tough part in the job. And I appreciate, and your consultants in the consultant working within the county certainly appreciate that, because we stand in the transaction middle with the mechanics of getting you ready for that. But you never lose your control. But obviously it comes as a double-edged sword, because you have to make tough decisions moving forward. But and I realize I went a long way around, but just sitting there in the audience, I hear certain things made and stated about the process. And when they're not correct, then you're making an informed call, an informed judgment call on less than the ability to be able to do that. Okay. So again, if I could just summarize, and Stella step in, and because Stella is down in the weeds in this, obviously for you, your prior project set is unchanged for your 5-year snapshot allocation. Again, the only thing that changed is which one or ones you propel forward first. And all you're telling Treasury is, behind that, and I'm going to make this point really emphatically, behind that you have not told Treasury who is timing-wise likeliest to be next. So you have some work internally to begin to think about that, because Treasury is going to expect to receive the whole project grant call-down package, and their interest is to know what kind of review to get ready for, and the timing of the review to get ready for it. The other thing, and I think it was you, Commissioner Daniel, Chairman Daniel, you stated that in reality, and this is bothering us a lot working with the counties, because they're losing the ability to recognize they have a lot of parallel work that should be going on. And a lot of that preparatory work does not need to wait until you make that decision, right? And so the ability to look at permit feasibility, conceptual design, some of the other aspects that really properly scope the projects need to go on and need to get ready. And my point in that regard is, as you look down the road, some of these projects may initially be scoped about this way at a value that is very different than their real value. Upon looking at the conceptual design and permit feasibility, they may be costed nowhere near what they are going to cost to implement. And so you got to move that process along. And again, I'm not advocating for the Cape project, but it suffices to say you're 4 plus or whatever number of years into it, you have a lot of really deep understanding of the scope of that project to be able to set your values as carefully as you have and be able to stand by them. So, I mean, just like I said, you've just got a lot of work to go forward on the others, but you've got the intent, obviously, of the project set. So that's it.
I have a question before you step away.
Brian, hold, please.
Dewberry, your company, are they coastal engineers?
We absolutely have coastal engineers.
And will there be a fair amount of coastal engineering in this project, in this restoration project?
You've already got a fair amount of coastal engineering in this restoration project. I think that is your consultant, Mr. Dombrowski.
So,
yeah. That and a fair amount would be probably an understatement.
So going forward, are we complete with the coastal engineering? Are we close to complete, or?
Oh, certainly allow
Here's our
party to
coastal
choose.
But, and the
engineer
reason
right
I'm
here.
asking you is because you're also our county engineer now, your company, maybe not you personally, but your company is our county engineer. So that's why I'm asking you, your company wears 2 hats with this county as our Restore Act consultant and our county engineer, as far as I understand.
So I think, if I may, I think I understand the basis of the question. And for everyone's benefit, in the course of time, Dewberry has merged and acquired Pebble Reach That's whom you're referring to. And consequent to any merger, which we do nationally, anytime we go into a merger, we are faced with the, as you well know, we're faced with the due diligence to look at conflict of interest and absolutely exercise complete avoidance of any conflict of interest. In this particular case, we are your service planning engineer here, and consequent to that, as you move down the road, we are evaluating what is the best position in the future to obviously absolutely avoid any conflict of interest with you. Okay.
One comment to sum it up where she was going with this. The more money that's dumped out there on the Cape or whatever, it actually helps your company. He didn't put it like that, but if you look at it,
Well, I mean, I'd have to delve into that to find in essence, in the final analysis, direct relationship. But I will offer you, well, okay, so I'll just,
let's just drop it. I just had to throw that out there.
Let me, if I may, and I don't mean to belabor this, because like I said, it's interesting the topic that you got driven to first to make a choice about, priorities. The ability to hold the barrier island structure together in the Gulf Coast region dominates the attention of most of the communities like yours. And it is a tough battle to hold those assets together, but they are truly assets. And one of the things that was not stated in here, because I doubt necessarily, well, I shouldn't, Dr. Pat probably somewhere in the 4 years did this, is to look at what that green infrastructure actually means to you beyond the protection of the, the homes that may be involved in this particular renourishment project. But it is a system, let there be no doubt, it is a system of ongoing maintenance that has to be valued against the asset. And every community in the Gulf region in particular is dealing with this.
Yes, I understand that. And it goes right back to what I said at the beginning of our board meeting. That bucket's sitting out there. As long as we can continue to throw dollars into that bucket, then everybody gets a job.
Well,
basically what it boils down to.
I would offer to you, as I said before, and especially I would offer to you looking broadly east and west.
North, south, and east and
Well,
west.
I would look east and west in this regard to what is going on in this realm. And it is, Mr. Dombrowski is a coastal engineer, and a prominent one, but this is not an easy problem to tackle because of the number of dynamics, but has to be tackled if you're going to hold the asset together.
Exactly right. If we continue with this project, it has to be tackled. This man I know has been on board. I've seen him up here. I've been here 16 years. How long have you been here? 16 years?
A little bit over that.
As long as we keep this stream open, my point is, that man has a job.
All right.
Brian.
Yes, sir.
Michael.
Yes, sir.
Coastal engineer, would you like to? Go ahead. Give your name over here to Ms. Roberts.
Yes, good morning. My name is Mike Dombrowski, county's coastal engineer. Just some of the points that were made today is one is that you are correct, is that beaches and erosion, it's an ongoing problem. It's just like looking at infrastructure. You build it, you need to maintain it. There is no magic answer to stopping it. There are ways of reducing the erosion rate, in reducing the long-term investment that the county does make. In terms of a plan, we do have a long-term plan for this segment of beach. We're looking right now that there is a beach restoration project that has the most immediate impact of benefiting the landowners and the environment and the TDC and the citizens of Gulf County. Because you put sand out on the beach, you provides storm protection, and we do have one of the highest turtle beaches in the state. So it does have a wide range of benefits to that project. The second part of this project is going to be some structures. We've talked about it over the last few years. We've done a number of investigations. We've talked with DEP and the Corps and U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And structures will reduce the erosion rate. It's never going to stop it. State of Florida alone has about 800 miles of shoreline. 200 miles of it is being maintained. And all of that is through beach restoration. There are some areas that do have structures. There's been a number of different types of techniques that somebody will come up with that says this is going to solve your problem. They're usually around for a year or two. The next thing you know is that they're bankrupt, there they go away. There was some experimental projects in the Gulf region that occurred especially after Hurricane Opal. They don't work. It is really a pretty simple process, is that you have erosion, you place sand. Unless that you change the dynamics, unless that you change the wave energy and where the waves are coming from, you're not going to solve the problem. All you're going to do is be able to put sand to mitigate for that and give longevity to that beach restoration project to provide the goals to the county, which again is storm protection, recreational benefits, the environment. And so it really is kind of a simple process, but it's difficult to get through the public perception that it is a waste of money. But there's been a number of economic studies over the years that not only is there a direct benefit to the landowners that are Gulf front, but also the people and landowners that are second tier and third tier. And also goes beyond that. It even goes into Port St. Joe. What is the economic benefit of having a healthy beach that affects the grocery stores, that affects the stores downtown? It's been very well documented throughout the state that there is those secondary benefits. Even with the beach restoration project itself, I've had business owners actually saying they can't wait for the next project because of what it did for the Piggly Wiggly, what it did for the restaurants, what the economic impact was for the hotels and motels. And a lot of these dredging companies do use local services and local staff and local labor to construct these projects. So I'm certainly available for any questions.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. But these structures, if we go back to the structures that we've talked about somewhat here at the board and that you've mentioned, they still, as you said, they don't all necessarily work. I mean, in my experience, I'm from South Florida where we also have a lot of erosion issues. Mm-hmm. And those different kinds of structures, things offshore to cut off that flow, they've been looked at for years and years, but none of them really work the way that you would like them to work, and many of them have other problems that are associated with them putting those in. So this is one of the concerns. When I talk to people that have been here forever, and you look back at pictures of the Cape for years and years, the Cape has been moving. It's always been moving, so I don't know how we stop it from moving. But I'm concerned about us, when you talk about those structures, putting more money into those structures that likely will not work. Many people have spoken to me from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, DEP, that there is pressure from that stump hole, that it's pushing that water down, and they believe that it's possible that if the bridge was put in and that was allowed to open at times, sometimes it would be closed and sometimes it would be open, but it would be, as nature called, that it could alleviate some of that pressure. So what I'm concerned about is going further and further away from the natural way things are. And it'd be more money spent. And I think that we need to be very cautious. And it was said that there's 2 commissioners up here that don't care about saving the Cape, and I don't think that's the case at all. But we want to be very cautious with these dollars. And I've seen environmental project after environmental project fail in various areas of the state because they're just trying to make something work. And I think that we need to be very, very cautious of going down that path. But I have appreciated working with you and, our questions of these issues. don't have anything to do with your work or, you know, the project itself. It really comes down to a business discussion and what's best. And as the shore moves, you will always have shore. The water is there. You will always have beachfront property. It may not be where you want it. Now, I'm not saying we don't do anything, but, you know, this thing about we won't have any shorefront left, well, you have water and land, you have shore.
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick comment. Just one quick one, okay. Put this on record. Y'all gonna go back about 50 years from now, whenever I tell you this, 50 years from now, we'll be able to walk.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll be able to walk across the bay from St. Joe Point right now to, Windmark Beach, if you keep dumping that sand on that beach down there. Put that on record. I've seen it on the river. I've seen it happen. Every bit of that sand is going somewhere that you dump. Every truckload that you dump on that beach goes somewhere. And you know where it's going? It's going to the point. You agree with me?
A good
So
portion
you
of
keep
it is,
dumping.
yes, sir.
You keep dumping. And eventually we'll be able to walk across over at the Windmark Beach. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm ready to move on with this issue and let's get out of here.
Hey, Mike, do you
Hold on,
have
Mr.
anything
Chairman.
else? I
Yeah.
will.
No, I'm
Two
always
things.
available.
All right,
to
just a
the
minute,
board
let me
anything
recognize,
thank you.
hold on, Stella, and I'll recognize
Just,
you.
yeah, just
Come on,
two things, just a
Commissioner.
couple things. I wasn't, like I say, the first time we put the so-called 22 million in it, I wasn't here. I'm here for this one though. And, I'm hoping that, you know, a bridge will come before, you know, I'm hoping that a bridge will come, so we won't have to have this discussion again. But I just want to ask a question to you, Mr. Dombrowski. Do you work for Dewberry?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, now, Mr. Bryan, quick question for you. Does Mr. Dombrowski work for you?
Oh, no.
Okay, I just want to make sure we clear that up.
Jaeger?
Yeah, Mr.
Hey,
Chairman, I
Stella, did you have anything? Any comment? All right, thank
Okay.
you, dear.
Stay
Okay.
here there, Stella, I might.
Yeah,
I
all
think
right.
where we're at now with your previous vote is, I think it's a good thing, and in talking with Treasury, they think it's a good thing. Since there's a substantial change in the actual dollars that will be going to that first project, we're gonna do another 45-day public comment period to give the public an opportunity to voice their opinions on all that. Stella and myself will receive those public comments. It'll delay the process just those 45 days, but it'll certainly give the public continued opportunity to voice their opinions on this project and that type of thing. So I wanted to let you know ahead of time that we'll be doing another 45-day public comment period.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Now, would that be a board public meeting?
No, sir. What we've done and what we're required to do is notice that out, and we've done that through our website, and we've done that through these meetings and that type of thing when we come before the podium and say that. But you will actually do public comment back to Stella or myself and in writing, and we will incorporate that in the whole process.
Why don't you do a public comment on this issue that we voted on today?
That's strictly up to the
do
of the Board of
public
County
comment
Commissioners.
there.
And I do want to state another thing. We, as your staff, this is up to you. You're charged by the Restore Act that you are the final say in what projects that you move forward first and what projects actually go on your plan. So you will continue, and even as this board changes over the 15 years that this monies will come back, it will be a dynamic of this particular process that we're going through.
And
So-
we've done that today. You know, the
Right.
board took a vote, they took action. It wasn't the vote that I wanted, but we've done it. Let's move on to the
One
next
more point of
issue.
clarification, I don't live on Cape San Blas. Okay?
I live on the river up there, and nobody's ever bought me a load of sand. Nobody.
All right. Mr. Yeager, as Brian stated, this is the first move on this. We're all in new territory. He mentioned this is a new frontier and all. We've got this, but you go back and look here. Oh, we got the restore money. How do we go out and multiply it?
Yeah.
How do we take the 5 fishes and feed the multitude? So that's what, or 7 fish, or ever how many it was, or whatever. Anyway, the beach, the people on the Cape stepped up. So we've took, where we're gonna invest this much money, others have invested. They're talking about, well, it's tax dollars. Now, our next project, more than likely, will be the, I know we have some paving coming up, and that's nothing to do with this, but with the sewer projects for both municipalities. Well, somebody, when they're doing the St. Joe, somebody in Howard's Creek's gonna be hollering, well, they're wasting my tax money down there, and then when they start in Weewalt, somebody in Overstreet's gonna be hollering away. So you're always gonna have somebody hollering about it, but what is the best for the county? How can we get the best? Now, I know the city of St. Joe, they're going out probably right now, as Brian stated, go to work. Start finding you some money to match with this. And I use the ambulance situation. The city of Weewell-Hitchcock told them, get out right now and go to finding, go find you some money. If you want $500,000, go find $1.5 million, go in it and get you $2 million worth. That's what it was. Did we not discuss all of this, or how we could take and multiply it and use it? This is the first project. After this project, I don't know which the next one will be, possibly a sewer project for the city of Port St. Joe. It is. We'll be behind it to go.
Be more saying if we have a storm.
Man, you, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, all right, we got to move.
Mr. Chairman?
All right,
I just want to ask,
I got to move on.
yeah, Mr. Yeager and Ms. Wilson, I just want to ask, is it required to start the new 45-day public comment period for there to be an action of the board today?
You know, I think the action that's already been taken, of course, you're the attorney now, but the action that's been taken that showed the timeline, that showed the dollars and that type of things, gives us a mode to move forward. If you feel more comfortable with saying that we want to do another 45-day public comment period, let's get action from the board, then we can certainly say, you know, we're recommending to you that we do another 45-day public comment period. So if you want to take action to that, that would be fine.
Sure.
I could add to that for
Thank
a
you.
second. I would note that at your last board meeting that we were at, where we presented the draft MYIP to you, this would be a different draft. This draft would be amended based on the action that you just took today. So we would be amending the MYIP, the multi-year plan, and then putting that document out for public comment. So it'll be different than the last time it went out for the 45 days because of your action today.
Yeah,
But you want a motion for?
Let's do a motion.
All right, give me one for 45 day on it.
Here, another public comment on this
Another public
issue?
comment period, not here, but through the process. Do another 45-day, we'll put it on our website, and we'll do all the things required by Treasury for that
I don't
public comment
want to
period.
get back to opening this thing up. We close it today.
Right.
The vote's taken.
Mr.
No, I lost the vote.
Mr. Commissioner?
I don't want to get back into this again.
There was a comment earlier from your consultant that it is a substantial or material change to the MYP that's been introduced, and also that it would be required that a 45-day period go forward. So I would instruct the board that you would want to entertain a motion to start that, to allow Stella and the consultant to amend your MYIP to reflect your actions today, and open that up for the next month and a half.
Motion for 45 days.
I have a motion. A motion by Commissioner Barnes. I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Quinn. Any further board discussion? Anyone there in the audience? 45 days. Not any opposition?
Yes.
I'm opposed.
Motion passed for 45 days, 3-2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, thank you.
Thank you, Stella. Butler, yeah, we're still with you. We're still on item number 2. Let's go.
Mr. Chairman, sorry about the last hour and a half.
Come on.
There's several more things. There's several more things. There's so many moving parts to this project that we just talked about for the last hour and a half. On page 11, you voted unanimously today to spend $87,000 for a cultural review of the sand deposits. And then also on page 42, you passed a resolution asking for more money for restoration and renourishment. And the dozens of points to this thing, the pieces of the puzzle to this thing, we're doing renourishment and we're doing restoration. The restoration portion of what we're doing here today under the beach nourishment project is going to go a long way down the road and provide a mitigation for your HDP that you've been forced to adopt. And by doing this, we're talking about putting a chunk, several $1 million into a beach restoration. U.S. Fish and Wildlife is on board helping guide the shape, design of that beach with MRD. And so it will count as a restored beach, so it will count as mitigation towards our HCP. This can save many hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars in the future for mitigation, because what they really like when they started talking 3 years ago, HCP, is they want everybody to chunk, a couple more thousand, 5,000, 10,000, $20,000 more per house that's to be built in the future to pay for mitigation, because they want us to buy land somewhere else that has the mouse on it. So, and that land along the coastline with the mouse on it is very expensive land. So here we are, we're going to go out, and I think Michael has determined we're going to build 98, 99 acres of restored beach here. It goes a long way down the road. There's a lot of parts to this puzzle that we're not even talking about. Today, probably an hour and a half, we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of parts to this. The bridge portion, meeting week before last, myself, Mr. Yeager, Mr. Holly, we were in Chipley meeting with DOT District Secretary. We talked about the bridge again, specifically about the $2 million that was appropriated during the last session, and they are actually looking at whether to, the bridge has been designed. Boca Engineers out of Mobile, Alabama designed it. It took about 9 years to design. It's sitting on the shelf ready to be built. If it were to blow through, they will immediately start putting the bridge back. Whether we like it or not, they're going to put a bridge back in place of what got blown out. Like Pat said earlier, there's going to be a temporary road put in place, and then there'll be a bridge. But what they're doing with the $2 million they appropriated during the last session is they're going to determine whether or not to look at a 50-year lifespan bridge or continue to put revetment down the road and up the road to keep the Gulf out of the bay. So that's what the $2 million for, and that's DOT doing that. Just one comment. I have never been in a meeting with DOT ever in my tenure with the board where county staff told DOT that we wanted a bridge or did not want a bridge. There has never been a discussion in any meeting I've ever been in. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address County Administrator on two issues. One is, Dr. Pat stood at the podium and said that you all had met with DOT, and we said we don't want that bridge, and maybe you didn't hear her say that, but no one said anything to the contrary, and that was concerning to me. I have not spoken to you about it, and maybe you didn't hear her say that, but you did say that at the podium, that you told them we don't want that bridge. So I just want to clear that up.
County staff.
The other issue I wanted to mention that you brought up was the mitigation for the Habitat Conservation Plan. And, I want the board to think about it this way. This is the way I see it. So when you're building out in a place like the Cape where you're affecting habitat, and you should bear the cost of having to replace that habitat, which is the mitigation, obviously. Now, in this situation, when we are allowing this beach restoration to be used as the mitigation for building in this area, we are passing that cost, which would be borne by the user, the person who wants to put their home in a place that affects habitat. We're taking that cost and putting it on the whole county by way of redirecting restore funds. However, we're doing it, the one penny TDC tax, by taking those funds that belong to everyone in this county and making this beach renourishment, and then using those, it's like bootstrapping, using those funds as the mitigation, then the people who are impacting those habitats are not bearing the cost of that. So to me, that's a double dip on the county. And I am not in favor of us using this as mitigation. I think that when people want to impact wetlands or habitat, they should pay for the mitigation. But I just want the board to think about this as we look at that habitat conservation plan. I would have brought it up another time, but since Mr. Butler addressed it, I thought it would be best to address it now in the interest of time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Two more comments, Mr. Chairman. I've never been in a meeting anytime ever with Realty where the county staff said we want or do not want a bridge. Never, ever. Two, as for the mitigation issue, this is a sidebar. So the beach is going to be restored and renourished. There's two different things, two different terms for two different things we're doing. Different parts of the beach. Parts going to get restored, parts going to get renourished. And what U.S. Fish and Wildlife is pushing us to do is for us to hire a compliance officer to make sure these people mitigate as for the next 30 years. And we're looking at the cost of that compliance officer, his salary, her salary, vehicle expenses, at least $4.5 million for the next 30 years. This would be a spinoff if we can get this sold through U.S. Fish and Wildlife, that this beach that we're getting ready to renourish and restore, and they'll give us value for the restored portion. This will hopefully eliminate us having to hire a compliance officer. If we had to hire one more person, I would hope it would not be a compliance officer to watch the beach, make sure somebody's not mowing the wrong grass every day, and that's what they want. But this is a way we can provide more what we're doing and use this as mitigation. We can provide more habitat than we will ever tear up in the next 30 years with houses. Because a house is probably 2,000 square feet and 3,000 square foot per house. So we're more in doing the part. But this is going to be a sidebar. The fact that the beach is going to get nourished, and the real reason for restoration of the beach is it does become an asset. And then when we do have a storm, even though it is in a COBRA, if we are not able to get it out of COBRA, it is an asset, and FEMA will repay us their percentage, probably 75%. State of Florida, 12.5%. We only have to come up with 12.5% of cost of restoring that beach. So if we build it the way U.S. Fish and Wildlife says build it, it becomes an asset that can be paid by FEMA in the event it gets destroyed by hurricane. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Attorney?
No, sir.
Hammer? You'll do it. What about you?
Nothing right now.
All right. Art, anything? Joe?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick note, the applications for SHIP are coming out in the paper. We'll be taking applications for the next 4 weeks, and our first workshop will be the 18th of July here. The workshop times and dates are listed in the application.
All right, you got an audit coming up when? Next couple
Tomorrow.
of days? Tomorrow? Okay. All right, good. Good luck with you. Thank you, Joe. Whitfield.
I want to give you an update on our collections. For May, we collected $76,444, which brings us up to an average of $78,758 per month over the last 8 months. Second item I want to bring up is several months ago we applied for a grant from the state for 2 ambulances. We got awarded a grant for 1 ambulance, which is still very good. This is due to the fact that they lack of funds up there and they just distributed the money among the different counties. And they also changed our match from a 90-10 to a 75-25, which increased our match amount. We had a match of $37,020 in our capital outlay budget for this coming year. We're gonna have to increase that now to $43,333, which is a $6,300 increase, more or less. What I would like to do now is ask your permission to go ahead with this and go ahead and finish up our bid documents and get it advertised and ready to accept bids and accept deliverance of the truck by October the 1st, when the new budget starts.
Where would the $43,000 match come from?
Uh,
Funds.
we budgeted it in our new budget, and it's on the, capital outlay list.
On your new budget? You're
Right.
talking about October 1 budget
Right,
coming up
that's
here?
when we would want to, accept the ambulance and make payment on it in the next year's budget.
You want to do all of this in next year's budget? Receive the ambulance, the whole 9 yards?
Right.
What if I one thing for me?
But
We already budgeted money in this fiscal year, but we're gonna come up because of the.
No, we
budgeted
didn't.
for 2 ambulances, is that right, or the
Well,
matching?
the money budgeted now is for next year. In other words, y'all haven't approved that budget yet.
Yeah.
We had 37,000.
That's what I'm getting at, 37, you gotta bump that up by $6,000,
Right.
am I correct there?
Right,
That's what it
43.
says here in this letter I
Yeah.
received from, who did it come from?
Right.
Yep.
Florida Department of Health, anyway.
So move, Mr. Chairman, for him to move forward with this project.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner McLemore, second by Commissioner Bryan. Further board discussion. Mr. Whitfield, I sure wish we could have got 2, but we'll take one.
We'll take
Anyone
what
in
we
the
get.
audience? All right, any opposition to the motion? Not motion passed 5-0. But you work through. Question over here, sir?
Just need to
Right.
clarify now, because you did this, you have to budget that. You're
Yes.
agreeing that
Yeah.
you're gonna budget this
Yeah.
money in this coming budget.
The new budget coming up, and it will be bumped up by what, the 6,000?
6,000 something.
May have to take out of Mr. Whitfield's salary, but, we'll get it.
All right, thank you. Houston, you have anything else?
No, appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Juan? Ben? Thank you. Ms. Bonda?
Not today, sir.
Madam Clerk? Sheriff? Warren, you have anything else? Chris? All right. This time, let me get all this out of the way. All right, now we're going into board business. We've through with county staff business. We're going to board business. Do you want to address those pages we pull now? I think we should before. Okay, let's go. Commissioner McLemore, you were first. You asked that you wanted to address pages 47 through 54.
That-
Want to comment, it's not here. You want to,
Yes, I want to comment on that because what this is the, I call it the, bear permit maybe, the bear ordinance is what it is. This is concerning bears. And what had happened at our last board meeting or board meeting before, FWC came down here and they stood right up there at that podium and they painted a pretty picture for this ordinance, is what they did. And what they said was, we want to buy everybody in Gulf County a bear-proof garbage can. That's what they said. Okay, I'm fine with that. But you need to read this ordinance that they come up with. This ordinance, excuse me, this ordinance that they came up with, that they want us to pass, according to this ordinance, you can't feed squirrels in your backyard. You can't feed birds in your backyard. You can't put any feed out on private or public property with this ordinance that they came up with. So I'm real concerned with this. I think that we need to look at this very hard because I'm telling you, 90% of Gulf County people, probably 90%, if they knew of this ordinance and that we passed it, we wouldn't be able to put them in that room. You go to telling those deer hunters that they can't put out bait at their tree stand on those big leases that they pay big money for, it's going to be a problem for us. So I don't know how do we need to handle this, Mr. Attorney? Do we need?
Can I also comment before we go to the attorney? I agree, and I had a lot of concerns about this ordinance, and it doesn't discuss at all about them providing cans, and it requires every resident to have, that has the pickup service, if you have a receptacle there and you have food in it or a plethora of other things that all of us have, that it has to be secured or it has to be behind a fence, and there's certain times that you could take it out. And the enforcement is that the sheriff's department and code enforcement, they have the right to inspect during reasonable hours any property in the town concerning any wildlife concern or potential wildlife attractant. It's a very broad enforcement, but there was no discussion involved with this. Maybe they mentioned it at prior meetings, but we've got I think it puts a huge burden also on our residents. And we don't require you to have trash pickup. So if you have trash pickup, now all of a sudden you have to comply with this ordinance. Why have trash pickup? And how does it apply to people who don't have trash pickup and burn, but they may not burn every day? So are we going to be inspecting where they're keeping their stuff they're burning? I do think we have a concern with the bears, but I think that this ordinance has a lot of issues. And I will also say that the public notice that ran in the paper here, I don't think was clear enough to indicate to people that it was going to affect how their garbage receptacle was kept and where it was kept, and that they could have a $500 fine per day for every violation. So I agree. I think that this ordinance is not anywhere near going forward.
I'd hate to know that we have to sit here and tell that 80-year-old woman that she can't sit at her back door and feed her and watch her squirrels all day. That's not us. So, Mr. Attorney, what do we need to do here?
When we get to on the agenda the public hearing, the chairman's going to call the public hearing, and at that time the commission can offer their suggestions or comments. I think the staff anticipated this not being a non-controversial language presented through Fish and Wildlife with the grant. Tomorrow and Thursday, Fish and Wildlife's meeting in Appalachia. Specifically, one of the issues amongst scallops is also black bears. But whatever comments you all provide to the staff, we can take those. You can table it. We can make those amendments, hear what Fish and Wildlife has to say the next 2 days, and then come back at additional public hearings and either modify the language, or if you don't want it, it was the commission's instructions at the last meeting to come up with something to Fish and Wildlife. One of the things we also want to do is, after we get some proposed language that this commission offers us comments on, is we want to give it back to Fish and Wildlife, and before you adopt anything, is to make sure that whatever language you're going to adopt would be sufficient to get the funding. There's several steps that have to happen before we would encourage or recommend that you adopt it. If you adopt the ordinance and you don't have a strong enough ordinance and you don't get the funding, that defeats one of the motivating factors why you're doing it. So open the public hearing, offer your comments to staff. We'll take those, and we'd recommend that you table it to another public hearing after we hear from Fish and Wildlife and your comments.
Motion to table, Mr. Chairman.
We gotta have it.
Oh, gotta go to the public?
No.
Yeah, we'll get
it's
to
on
that in the agenda, sir.
Agenda here, see.
It's
No motion needed?
not at this time, but after we get through the
No, we'll come
board
back.
comments, it will be. Yes, sir.
No, we'll come back to it.
Then we can talk about it again.
Let me make one comment on this. I've read this in detail. It's all to get money, for cans? It may not be worth even fooling with. The way I read this right here, if I have a horse, and I see we got our extension agent back here, and I feed my horse, and he drops 3 or 4 kernels of corn on the ground, I gotta go out and sweep it up.
Clean it up.
If
And a
not,
bird feeder.
Sheriff might come see me. So this thing or my bird feeder, I look every now and then, the squirrels is up in there and they knock it on the ground, well, I'm responsible to go clean it up. No, this is just locking the door and throwing the key away.
Yeah, if you want to
Okay, we'll address it when we get to it.
If-
All right.
If
So,
you want to, if they want to solve the bear problem, you take down the population.
oh, son, you want to shoot the bears. All right,
They're the only way
all right, you got it.
I'm done.
What do you want to do with this 47 through 54? You just want to discuss on it? We'll address it when we get into it. Okay. All right. You have anything else? So we're going to address this. It's on the agenda. It's
Agenda
item
item.
number 5 coming up right after we get.
47 through 54?
Yeah,
I just addressed it.
I know you did, but you want to pull it out or leave it or what we're going to do?
I want to pull it out.
Just,
Well,
Mr. Commissioner, just,
Wait
you- like I
to
said, you all have instructed staff to pay to advertise a public hearing. When you get to that, it's not part of your consent. When you get to the public hearing, you'll open the public hearing, and at that time, this board can make actions
Then we
as
do it.
to amending, ending it, whatever you all want to do with it, but at that time in the agenda is when you would do that under a public hearing setting.
I get to item number 5, then if you want to
Seven.
put a motion to kill it all, we'll
Yeah,
go
I'll
from
put
there.
a
Let's
motion
just wait there.
to-
All right, have you got anything else?
No.
All right, let's come over here. We'll come over, Commissioner
My pages.
Bryant, what is it? 24, 25, and 37, if you,
I think it's 24, 25, and, yeah, 37, that's right. So 24, 25 are related. And I just
24 and
have
25,
questions.
okay? All right, yeah, sure.
This is for road grading, and we only had one bid, and the request is to reject the bid and rebid with modified specs. So my question is, how are we going to modify the specs? What's inappropriate about this bid, and how will we modify?
Mark?
The way we bid it out, we've never done this before. I've never bid out motor grading before ever. So this was kind of a.
First
when
time.
we talk about pioneering. I'm pioneering a lot of stuff over there that I've never done. So we sent it out. We got one guy that bid on it, C.W. Roberts. And so I'm thinking that maybe I didn't include something or do something right. So I actually been looking at other specs for motor grading and then got with the chief administrator. And what we might add to it this time is maybe even leasing one of our machines. So that would send a new twist to the whole bidding out if we were leasing out or doing something with one of our graders.
So was the amount of this bid a lot higher than you had anticipated?
Well, I didn't know what to expect, but it is high.
Yes.
I mean, from what I think that it should be, I think it's high.
And was that for like an annual contract, 363? And the goal, obviously, with the paving is to cut down on the need for motor grading. But with this contract, we would stop doing any of that as the county doing any of the grading. Is that the goal?
Well, it depends. I mean, we'll have to get with whoever and whatever they bid. That was actually for 12 times a year. Pulling ditches, it was at a cost per mile, so that if the roads, if the dirt roads go down, then, you know, that would be reduced by the amount of miles that they have them grade. And then I assume that once we get into, if we accept a bid, I assume you could go and meet with the contractor and decide, okay, we want to grade these roads, and then we can hit these roads with our tractor slide or some kind of a combination to get it to where we could maybe afford it.
What, just a minute, we still hold here, but I'm gonna come over here to you.
I'd be very careful with this bidding this road grading out, Mark. This is the first I've heard of it, really, which is fine. I mean, I know they talked about it years in the past or whatever. You just said something that I really don't like already, that they would grade it 12 times a year. Is that correct? That won't work in my district.
And it may not, and that's what I'm saying. We went out to this to see what we could draw in, what we could look at, how many times they're looking at doing. I'm just telling you, on this particular bid, it was a cost per mile, 12 times a year.
I would suggest that you look at your expenses that you're incurring now, and in the past, what you've incurred during the year, put it up beside of your bid. And look at all your options before you make a really decision on this. And I know that the administration and all y'all are looking at this to try to work with our budget issues, you know, but sometimes you have to just bite the bullet on things.
And that's maybe what we find at the end of the day on this.
Just a word of caution on it.
So you'll have a little bit more of a tailored bid process, so they have a little better idea of what they're bidding on.
Yeah, and that may have been the reason why we only got one bidder, I don't know.
Okay.
So just another opportunity to go back and tailor it.
All right. Well, Mr. Chairman, should we address these 2 pages and vote, and before I go to the next one? Okay, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve for
Reject the bid.
Cawthorn to go back out.
Second.
All right, got a second by, motion is by Commissioner Bryan, second by Commissioner Quinn. Any further board discussion? One in the audience on this issue of motor grading. The opposition? Motion passed 5-0. Cawthorn. All right, that solves 24 and, 25. Now you want 37. I went to 27, 37. over here and see what it says.
All right, on page 37, this is an amendment to the County Administration Purchasing Authority, and it gives the authority to the county administrator to, that he can make purchases for Gulf County that are bids or rates of service secured through approved state contracts and that have been approved as county budget items for that fiscal year. I believe that the items should still be placed in the consent agenda for our review. If there's an amount that's a small amount, that's a budgeted item, I don't have an issue with that necessarily, but there's no maximum amount on these purchases. So when it's in the consent agenda, even if it's in consent where we don't necessarily discuss it, but when it's in the consent agenda, it gives us an opportunity to see what's being purchased, and I think it's good for the board to see what's purchased. If you wanted to put an amount on it, I could potentially go for that, but I don't think that it's that difficult to put it into the consent.
I think we have one.
Mr. Butler.
Mr. Chairman, this board voted in December 2014 to give me a $50,000 limit to purchase. All this does is clean up, what I call cleaning up your policy on what we can buy. You first have to approve the budget to buy anything we buy. So what this is saying, if you approve a budget to buy a pickup truck and you give us okay on it, then we don't have to wait till the next board meeting to come back. Can we buy that truck now? Because you've already approved it. And this is a little less than that. This is off-state contract, the main thing. The next page that was not mentioned, the next page, you see the county commission today voted to agree to buy a lowboy, and you don't have a monetary amount on that. So, which is no value probably also. So what all this does is once you approve a budget, whether it be in a CIP or a budget item in the budget, if this board has voted to approve it, it allows us to buy it off state contract.
Without it being in the agenda. So my opinion is that it should be in the agenda. That's just my opinion.
Now, she pulled that, Mr. Chairman, so we need to, I make a motion that we approve it. We need to do that? Clear it up? Yeah, I make a motion that we approve it.
Approve the pulling,
No?
leave it, or you want?
Put it back in.
There, okay.
Yeah.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner McLemore to leave page 37 in the agenda. I hear a second to it. Got the motion for it.
A second.
All in favor of it? Good.
And I'll
Thank
vote
you.
no, of course.
All right. All right, motion passed 4-1. Commissioner Brian, you still have the floor.
I believe that's all I have.
Commissioner McLemore brought up the situation that I was looking at in the various situations.
Oh, Lord. We're fixing to jump right on that here, Jess. That'll be the next item.
He's pretty good.
All right. Bears, huh? All right, and the chair has. Now let's move to, while we're fresh on it, item number 5. Mr. White? No, where we at? Let's go, we done, Mr. Yeager, you've done cleared yours up. All right, we're through with 5. Mr. Bezette, thank you for hanging around. Did you bring you a sandwich with you?
You did it.
Do share it with me.
I just got one thing.
Come on up, Rex.
You didn't even ask Mr. Quinn if he had
Yeah.
any board
Didn't
business.
Got one thing. I wanna
Okay,
bring
all right, come on.
Get it
Yeah,
out
I
there.
did too.
Get it out.
Shit, I thought I started with him before I went to you. No, go ahead.
We'll get it out to Mr. Rick. Go ahead.
I don't mind sitting down.
No.
Go ahead.
All right, come on. We'll hold right over here. We've here, what, been 2.5 hours, need a break. Come on, Rick.
101 20th Street, Port St. Joe. I'm representing the Friends of St. Joseph Bay Golf Course. It's a 501(c) nonprofit that I'm a member of. And I'm sure all of you know, we've got a 172 acre public recreation facility, and our main goal as the Friends is to raise money to help with projects out there to keep this facility from closing. We've got tennis courts, clubhouse that we have public functions as well as other functions, a swimming pool, and a golf course. Our project this year is to renovate the only public swimming pool in the county, which is at the golf course. The renovation costs are $25,000. We have raised through grants, fundraisers, donations. We've raised all but $3,500 of that amount of money. And I'm here today to request that you guys help us out with that. And we could continue to have folks young and old, and county residents, tourists, that come and use the pool frequently when it's open. And that's my purpose of being here today. So, and I've talked to most of you and kind of let you know where we were with that project, and so that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Mr. Rex.
Hey, Rex, just hang around.
Yes, sir.
These questions.
Yeah, just one question. You say you raised 25,000.
We know we haven't, the project was 25, we've raised all but 3,500. So what's that, 21.5? Yeah, we've raised $21,500.
There's a balance of what?
$3,500.
3,500?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has the city commissioners, have they put any into the pot with this? Have they?
The city did put some into the pot.
How much?
The city put $1,500 in.
Okay.
But the city also provided last year with some, we leased for a nominal amount the city excavator to did maintenance dredging on our ponds. And it was a fair amount. We paid the city operator to operate the excavator, and so had a good bit of in-kind money from the city and on top of the $1,500. But thanks to the county and you guys, your lowboy transported out there for us. So you know, we're all in it together. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a problem with a couple of thousand. I think that's more than fair. City has donated $1,500.
What we can do.
We could do 2,000. That'd put you closer than where you at.
Anything would be greatly appreciated. So, thank you.
Commissioner Quinn, do you have, we're on this, and I'll come back to you. Have any comment on?
No, sir. The only thing I would add is, if we can do it legally, let's try to do our best to help them out. I know a lot of my kids in my neighborhood was transported out there last year and the year before, and they get taught swimming lessons. So whatever if it's possible legally, let's try to do what we can to help them out.
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, we go with $2,000.
Got a motion by Commissioner McLemore to Joe Country Club, is that it?
No, it'd be,
St. Joe Golf Club.
It'd be the nonprofit Friends of St. Joseph Bay Golf Course.
Second by Commissioner Bryan.
Barnes.
Oh, all right. Now we end this
Okay,
discussion.
I'll make this comment. I was gonna take out the BP money, but I can't do that no more. It's on this, we buying sand with it. So, Mr. Butler, you're gonna have to find us $2,000 somewhere.
Yes, you have any, we're in discussion. Brian, you have any discussion? What about you? All right, sure, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Barnes, the question, is it legal? Can the county commission give funds to a not-for-profit? The answer is yes, you can. So it's a policy decision. I would just encourage you all to specify where your funding source is for the clerk's office and include that as part of your motion. And to answer your question, Mr. McLemore, the BP funds they spoke about today were the Restore. There are other BP funds as well. So you can give funds to a not-for-profit. It's a policy decision of this commission.
So you're suggesting to take out a BP fund?
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just telling you, no, I believe you do
Is
have
there some
BP
money out
funds.
there?
I
in
be- yes,
BP?
sir.
You mean we got some?
The clerk could tell you that specifically.
Okay, that's where I want to take it out from, BP
All right,
funds.
let me put my 2 cents in on this. Mr. Brissette, X, who owns the swimming pool?
Who owns the
Who
swimming pool?
owns the actual, physically owns the swimming pool?
Golf course. It's not a country club anymore. It's just a golf club.
All right, and it's on
Public
private,
golf club,
it's
and
on
it's
private
owned by the-
property, is that correct?
It's a for-profit
No,
corporation.
it's on private property, isn't it? To utilize it out there, you have to be a member of the
No,
club.
no, sir.
All right, my next question is, will it be open to all the children? I heard you say here, I wrote it down, tourists, residents, and tourists.
It's open to the public. Anybody can come use it. There's a nominal fee, just like any public.
Okay, so there will be a full fee, so a kid shows up out there, he's gotta have $5 before he can go swimming.
$3 for children.
But it don't matter, you gotta have money.
But any, I did a little research, any public, pool facility I found everywhere charge a small nominal fee just for upkeep, maintenance, chemicals, power.
Well, I own a swimming pool, and I know what it costs to keep one of them up.
So,
Like I told you, don't build one, come swim in mine, and you will save a lot of money over the run. But will there be a lifeguard there? School bus pulls up, dumps 40 kids. How many can you have? Have you worked all this out? Have you got all this worked out?
all that rules are in place, but there are no lifeguards. You swim at your own risk, and it's all covered under the state and all the, appropriate statutes that are required for that. Fence is up, it's locked, I mean, we've jumped through those hoops. The only reason we're renovating it, the state closed us down because it had cracks and it needed, renovating, so.
All right, have you got a time frame? I'm just throwing out May 1st, let's say, through September the 3rd. Have you got a time? Will it be open year-round, or has it got certain time?
It's normally open from Memorial Day through, actually
Day.
past Labor Day. They play
Okay.
it by ear, because when the weather's warm, kids and everybody enjoys it, so.
All right, that's
That's
just some questions I had.
Sure.
All right, anyone else, any more here from the board? Yeah, George.
I just wanted to ask about this renovation. The pool is in the city or is it in the county?
County.
It's in the county. I just want to ask this because I'm sure this will come up at a later time, but, the pool gonna be renovated out there. Obviously, it'll require some permitting. In addition to the donations for the nonprofits, you have the option of waiving the permitting fees too. That will probably come up before you later on. If we could address it right now, it'd make it a lot easier down the road.
Yeah,
Just
right
add it.
now.
Who made the motion? You made the
I
motion?
did. Yeah, pass this
And waive the fees? You-
and waive the fee. Yeah, I can add that to it.
I will say that the board at the country club, went out on a limb and already contracted to have it renovated. They've already gotten all their permits, paid all their fees.
Oh.
They're waiting,
Not at the
pool.
county, not at the county they haven't.
Huh?
They haven't here at the county. They'll still be required to come here. That's the ones I'm speaking of.
I'm not on the board, I'm just, that representative of the Friends, so.
Okay.
We can
so
take-
bottom line, thank you for
Do
that.
that.
Yeah.
We
Thank
we
you.
can
All right,
take that.
anybody else? Moving along. If not,
Very good, thank you.
we'll vote. All right. Any opposition? Commissioner McLemore's motion. Motion passed 5-0, and that was 2,000.
And that's the waive the permitting,
Waive, yeah.
permitting
All right.
fee.
All right. Thank you. Now, my apologies. We've been here
Yeah,
too
we've been here a while.
You, and Sheriff, let me come over here to you, sir. Do you have anything?
No, sir, I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Busy as week. Now, Commissioner Quinn, again, my apologies to you. I thought I,
Oh, no problem, no problem, Mr. Chairman. I just want to bring this back up. We hadn't addressed this, since, I guess it was on the, in April. but it hadn't come back up, and I thought we were supposed to brought it back up about the removing of those trees, those 58, those 58 trees. I guess I need to bring. I mean, I'm on board with getting them removed. I thought we wanted to discuss it again.
I think Commissioner McLemore want to go look at them.
And I have, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I looked at each and every one of them. I'm fine with it.
So I go ahead and make the motion that we move forward with what Mr. Cochran recommended for us.
For the tower.
For the tower. For the
and
safety of the tower. We get those trees removed.
Motion by Commissioner Quinn. Do I have a second to his motion?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
By Commissioner McLemore. Any further board discussion? Anyone in the audience on the removal of these trees? And it's all been laid out. No opposition, motion passed 5-0. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, so thank you. Now, Mr. Mike, we're going to move to item number 7, public hearing proposed wildlife feeding ordinance.
Motion to kill it.
Second.
Got a motion to deny / all right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
if I can just recommend that the commission open the public hearing and then make the motion after you've advertised a public hearing on the ordinance. We'll read it by title, and then the commission can take action once you open your public hearing.
Got anybody in the public? Anyone in the public? Floor is open for the
I'm going
public.
to read it by title if
Sure,
there's any
go ahead.
opposition from the commission, okay? It's an ordinance prohibiting feeding of wildlife and regarding waste disposal in Gulf County for said policies under the ordinance to be implemented, codified, and become part of Gulf County LDR, where appropriate and applicable, implementation through solid waste collection and hauling vendors, providing for repeal or severability modifications that may arise from consideration at a public hearing, providing for an effective date today, Tuesday, June 21st. At this public hearing, it was advertised pursuant to Florida statute. Mr. Chairman, you open it.
All right, open to the public. Anyone in the public? All right. All right. Make a motion?
Yeah, I already made it. Motion to kill it.
Now we got it in order.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bryan. All right, any further board discussion? Already been to the public.
We don't need their
Any
garbage cans.
opposition?
Well, they could give the garbage cans. You know, you either have a carrot or a stick. If they gave the garbage cans, that would be a carrot. Encourage people to use them. This is hitting people over the head with the stick. And it's just not a good.
I actually think we got it wrong. I don't think they were gonna give us the garbage can. I think they was gonna retrofit the garbage cans that we have with some type of lid, not
And that's
not
good
not a
too.
whole can.
If they
But-
offered those, I think people would use them.
Yeah.
But we can't put this in place.
Yeah, let's
All right,
just
motion
kill it.
passes 5-0.
I like that kill word.
Now, we're gonna try to knock this thing out. Let's come over here, Mr.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We've got 2 public hearings, one variance request and one small-scale map amendment. I'll ask you to, after I read the variance request, I'll ask you to go into public hearing. First one, Stephen in Virginia Hile, parcel ID 03774-050R, Section 31, Township 6, South Range 11 West, St. Joe Beach, Highway 98, requesting a 20-foot variance to the 30-foot roadside building setback of the parcel. The planning board recommended to you from yesterday's meeting by 4-0 vote to allow request of a 20-foot variance into the 30-foot roadside setback as listed on the site plan and the current survey submitted by the applicant to allow for FDEP permitting under Section 34, provision number 3. And this will be your quasi-judicial hearing.
All right. Stephen in Virginia, are you here today? Have you?
They have a representative here, but I'll ask you to go into public hearing and we'll
I just wanna
we'll go
stick
through the
over here. All right.
quasi-judicial.
All right. All right, it's open to the public. Anyone in the public on this? Anyone? Do I have, anyone opposed to us waiving quasi? Anyone? Opposed? All right, and we'll waive the quasi. Now, husband, come on up, please.
As Mr. Lowry stated, this is a typical type Beacon Hill, St. Joe Beach area variance for the coastal construction control line, and it's due to the setback that the DEP creates for the coastal seaward side homes along the seaward edge of the homes. So it's very typical. We've done a number of these. It's no different than any of the rest of them, in all honesty. The only difference on this one, for some reason, the survey came back with a 30-foot setback on the roadside. Other than a speed limit change, I'm not sure why the survey said that. We can't argue with the surveyor, so we took the 30-foot. That we're going to be no further closer to the road than any of the other homes are currently there. The only other home there's a home to the north of us. It's a fairly old residence. It does not have a DEP permit. That's why it does not have a 10-foot setback. They're actually further seaward than they should be. They would be able to be now.
Anything else?
Without a survey, without a survey.
Anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
I don't like this, but what we've done, it's very tight there. I don't think there are many other options. I don't like it being that close to the road, but I don't really think that we can deny it. So I will make the motion that we approve as the PDRB recommended.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Got a second by Commissioner McLemore. Further board discussion. One, any opposition? Approving this variance, not motion, 5-0.
Thank you.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask you to make one more vote on that variance. If you'll, to waive the reading and accept the planning department, or the planning board's findings.
Oh, sure, we should people get all this in order before you get here, and we have to untangle all this.
Motion to waive the reading.
Motion to waive right over here.
Second. Calm
Second
down.
right over here.
Calm down now, Mr. Chairman. Calm down.
We've been here long enough.
We don't want to be
All right,
sued.
any further board discussion? Anyone in the audience? All right, any opposition? If none, motion passed 5-0. Now let's go to the second one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second public hearing, you had your quasi-judicial hearing last meeting.
Did.
This is for a small-scale map amendment. Desiree Ranches of North Florida, LLC, parcel ID 03301-000R and parcel ID 03302-000R, section 23 and 24, Township 4 South, Range 11 West, Jarrett Daniels Road. It's for a 2-acre land use designation change from ag to residential, and this is the second public hearing. I'll ask for your vote, and this will need to be approved by an ordinance. The attorney's working on that, and we'll have it the next meeting if you wish to approve this.
By Commissioner Barnes, second by Commissioner McLemore. Any board comment? Ladies and gentlemen, this is just one of many homes that will be built out in that area there, the Desiree Cattle Timber. Depends on building quite a few homes in that area, so this is one of many there. All right, anyone in the audience on this? Any opposition? Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, let's go down to Mr. Jefferson. Do you happen to still be with us, or are you giving up?
Gone.
Opportunity Florida.
Gone.
Saunders, are you, wait a minute. Come on up, Chris. You're going to address.
Antonio Jefferson is the new chair of Opportunity Florida.
Okay.
I saw him on the agenda. I haven't talked to him. He's not here, or
I thought he
wouldn't
would
be up here.
But you go ahead. You can represent him.
Well, he's the new chair. They've got a meeting tomorrow in Freeport. I'll be attending. I'll tell him that I stood in for him. I think he's just wanting to extend Opportunity Florida support. Actually, their new executive director, Richard Williams, was at the site visit we had last week, providing support. They've got a new strategic plan and kind of a new mission. where they're trying to focus on helping regional economic development. So they're a great partner, and I'll send the board's regards to him tomorrow at the board meeting.
All right.
I'll answer any questions if you've got them. But
Thank you, Craig. Serena?
Good morning.
Blue Wall Medical Center, quarterly report.
Right, quarterly report. Katrina Saunders, Center Manager for Weewitchka Medical Center, a federally qualified healthcare center for Gulf County. My primary reason for being here today is to report on our annual year 2015 demographic information. Weewitchka Medical Center served 1,337 patients at our center last year for a total of 3,658 visits. 18% of our patients do not have insurance. Most of those we cover under our slide fee program. We provided $79,471 worth of services to these patients, with $62,143 of those dollars waived. In addition to the medical services offered at the center, we also offer free smoking cessation classes, diabetes classes, and assistance with health care coverage to anyone in the community. We encourage every Gulf County citizen to see their primary care provider for an annual preventive visit. The best way to stay healthy is to detect problems when they are manageable. In conclusion, I would like to invite everyone to come to our annual health fair, which will be on Thursday, August the 11th, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. We'll have health screenings, medical information, and most importantly, free school supplies for our children, as school will be starting next week.
Every year.
Yes, sir. We'll have backpacks, crayons, everything they need. And as always, we thank you for your support in providing health care to the community.
August 11th.
Yes, sir, 2 to 4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're on, item number 11 has been scratched. We'll move to item number 12, which is public discussions. Anyone in the public have anything they would like to come before the board and present? Anyone in the public? I can't. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Mayor, couldn't see you there for a moment. Come on up, sir.
I don't know, this is the time to talk about this or not.
Oh, we might as well.
I got this on my desk,
Come on.
Bo Patterson, 609 10th Street, Mayor of Port St. Joe. How y'all doing today?
Well, you've been with us.
When are we gonna be talking about the road bond money and where it's gonna be spent and things like that? I've got a little handout I was putting in my box, and I just had a couple of questions about the handout.
Let's come right over here. I talked about this coincidental. Let me just say this. It's time I was in Panama City and ran into your city manager yesterday, and we had a lengthy discussion over this, and he wasn't aware of some of the amount of money we was getting. He said, we appreciate it. I said,
Right.
We're taking care of it.
And we
Go right
appreciate
over
every
here,
bit
Mr.
we can
Butler.
get.
Yeah,
The
go
only
right over
question I
here.
had, I was looking down here, we had several streets in the city that would be part of the city's money because they're in the city limits, and I understand that, but there was one on there, Madison Street. Now, if I'm not wrong, is that in the city or the county?
Well, Mr. Mayor, that list is not necessarily,
That's not the final product.
that's not the city's portion of the money. City's portion is $1,050,000.
Right.
That represents 21% of $5 million.
Right.
The other that the Commissioner Yeager, Commissioner Barnes, Commissioner Quinn placed on there, those 6 roads, I believe 6, including a trail, that was above and beyond the city's allocation of the money.
Right.
In Madison, I think it starts at the intersection of Madison and goes to the cemeteries.
So that part's in the city limits?
I'm not sure. Probably a portion of it is. Majority is probably not.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, I didn't see anything down here that would indicate that we would get some help on Long Avenue. There's no money allotted for Long Avenue. We know that the 1 million is not gonna work. It's not enough money.
No.
To do what we need to
Let me,
do.
right here. Your portion is, $1,050,000. Am I
Right.
correct there? Then I think
Yep.
with the graces of Commissioner, at that time, was it Yeager? We'll say Barnes and Commissioner Quinn here, it comes to
1,515,000.
another 400 and something, so you're looking about,
465,000.
yeah, 400, you're looking at about $1.5 million.
Okay, well, what are we gonna do with Long Avenue?
You got $1,050,000 cash money sitting in the clerk's office.
Yeah.
It can be applied to that.
Plus it, and which one
Pay
of
as
them's on
much
the
as we
scrap?
can. So we ain't gonna get it all done, that's what I'm saying, and that's one of the most used
That's-
roads in the city.
That's something for you city commissioners, though, to work out, though. We give you a lot of money.
Right.
A pot of money.
Oh, it
And-
cost us, don't it, and they ain't giving it to us, and we do kinda pay it back in a way, don't we?
I understand
I mean,
that.
it's not given to
But
us.
wait a minute. You have two commissioners here that's
Have
it
streets
being
in the city.
also.
Right.
So you city commissioners need to kind of work out what you want paid and what you don't want to.
Right. And I thought we were under the impression we would get help on Long, and that's the only reason I'm here, is the two items, as Long is not on here, to show that we get any money to help with Long, and then we have one street on here that says you're helping the city, that actually may be county road.
Okay, you got $400-something thousand help there.
Mm-hmm.
What, let me say something, man. Which one, is it Long or Garrison where they're either scrap, scoop, whatever?
From 16th back to 71, the state's gonna do it.
State's
Or
gonna do
FDOT
that,
gonna do
from
it.
16th Street
Back to 71.
71,
It's gonna
the
be done for
state's
them.
go-
So
so
that
that's a
helped us
big
out a lot.
burden. That's a big
That helped us a
burden.
lot. Our main concern, of course, right now, as I say, is Long Avenue.
Well, that's your two main arteries, and
Right,
and
exactly.
Garrison is used heavily
And
by
maybe we can
everybody.
discuss moving something else around with the
All right.
There you go.
commissioners.
That's the city's,
Yeah, that's what.
I just
that's-
want to get
It's not written
clarification
in
today.
stone.
That's the only reason I'm here.
That's what I
tonight.
meant. You city commissioners, along with your two board commissioners, y'all need to iron out what
Yeah.
you want paid and what you don't.
Okay.
Long
Well, I thought we had it ironed out a little bit until I saw this and it didn't have Long Avenue on it. Anyway, I just wanted to bring up my concerns.
Mr. Mayor, you looking at 1.5, and whatever y'all can come up with and scrape and rate, and we,
Right, but for the record, this is not free money to us. I just want to put that on the record. It's not free money. We do have to pay,
No, it's-
taxes and stuff.
It's not free money. But we have two commissioners sitting right here that has donated over $400,000 for this project.
All right, we're gonna be.
But they didn't
we'll
have
be
to.
talking with them probably some
Yeah.
more.
They didn't have to do that.
Sure, I agree.
Okay.
But it's nice they did, since we pay county taxes. How many registered voters? I hear we had 2,600 and something. It's a lot of voters that vote, countywide too, not just in the city. I know it doesn't fit you, but it does fit these two guys to some degree. But anyway, I'm just asking questions today.
Sure.
Let's get with us, Mayor.
all right, Mr. Mayor.
Let's
we
get with us,
rolling.
Mayor. We'll
Get
work something
rolling.
out. Yeah, we'll work something out.
Somebody else here, the young man, yeah, come on.
I'd like to request a motion, Austin Horton, Gulf County Mosquito Control. I'd like to request a motion to be made for the chairman to sign an amended contract, mosquito control contract. All it is the state's giving us more money for our state grant, but the amendment does need to be signed. Our attorney has looked at it, said everything checks out, looks good.
I move.
Motion by Commissioner McLemore, second by Commissioner Barnes for the board discussion. Both, Peter.
Right.
Both, right. All right. Anyone in the audience, any concerns, any opposition? Not, the motion to sign, it passes 5-0.
Thank you.
That it? All right, last call. Before I turn over here to Commissioner McLemore. All right, thank you.
Mo-
Thank you for the meeting.
Motion to kill this meeting.